Delete.
I think 87.
Good morning, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, we're gonna get started in just a moment.
Mel, what's for the OCPD? The address.
Trinity Street. I don't, what's Farmington, 55 Farmington.
Thank you.
84. What's the hell about? Yeah, it's pretty wrong. Over. It's good.
Hey, good morning. My name is Parole Officer Weinbergson. Today is Monday, May 18th, 2026. And this is the Public Act 23-169 hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. For the record, Mr. Porty, the state of Connecticut passed and made effective as of October 1st, 2023, Public Act 23-169. It's an act concerning parole eligibility for an individual serving a lengthy sentence for a crime committed before the individual reached the age of 21 in criminal history records erasure. You fall under this act, and this means that you are under the age of 21, that the board shall give great weight to the diminished culpabilities of juveniles as compared to adults, the hallmark features of youth, and any subsequent growth and maturity that you displayed while we're reviewing you for suitability today. The following board members are present this morning, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, I'm Jennifer Sacchinini.
Good morning, I'm Councilmember Barry.
Good morning, Alex Sarkoff.
Thank you. Also in attendance this morning, we have Attorney Sharon Elias. Attorney Elias, if you could please state your name, juris number, and business address for the record.
Certainly, again, my name is Sharon Elias. The business address is 55 Farmington Avenue in Hartford, and my juris number is 309475.
Thank you very much. Also present today, we have State's Attorney John Doyle. Attorney Doyle, if you can also please state your name, juris number, and business address for the record. Attorney Doyle, I think you're muted.
I apologize. Do you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a microphone problem. I apologize for that. John Doyle, State's Attorney for the Judicial District in New Haven. Address is 235 Church Street in New Haven. Juris number is 415543. And good morning to the board and good morning to council.
Good morning.
Thank you. Also present this morning, we have board psychologists along with Office of Victim Services Representative, Ms. DeJesus. Mr. Porty, can you please state your name and inmate number for the record?
Terry 14-214567.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing in accordance with Chapter 14, Freedom of Information Act, Connecticut General Statute 1-200, which applies to this procedure. Mr. Porty, if you have any questions concerning the above, please bring your questions to the attention of the panel at this time. Again, this is a public hearing, and Mr. Porty, do you have any questions?
No.
And are you willing to proceed at this time?
Yes.
Thank you. So as previously stated, this is the Public Act 23-169 hearing. It's being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Terry Porty, inmate number 214567. For the record, Mr. Porty is also known as Obate with a New Jersey inmate number 598557. Mr. Porty is serving a sentence of 78 years flat with no probation to follow for assault in the first degree, illegal possession of a weapon in a motor vehicle, conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and accessory to murder. There is victim input in this case. There's also an offender accountability plan in place. It has been reviewed and shows that Mr. Porty has completed programming such as interactive skill building, passive recreation, Age Your Rage, Thinking for a Change, the STARS program, Family Unified program, 12-step programming, Smart Recovery, CPOP, and peer-on-peer addiction services programming. He has also earned a college degree maintains a job assignment, and is involved in Toastmasters. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the RT falls within the moderate range risk for recidivism. And Mr. Cordy, this is now your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole, and you may begin at this time.
I would first like to start by expressing my sincerest gratitude to the honorable members of this board for presenting me with this opportunity. There is not a day that passes without me reflecting on the events of August 18th, 1995, July 16th, 1997, and May 21st, 2006. On August 18th, 1995, I shot and killed Nicole. A trial which could have been avoided had I taken responsibility. A jury rightfully found me guilty. On July 16, 1997, at my sentencing hearing, the Honorable Judge William Haddon Jr., prior to sentencing, presented me with the opportunity to face Nicole's family, take responsibility for killing Nicole, acknowledge that what I did was wrong, and express my remorse. I declined to do so. By no means am I attempting to excuse my behavior when stating that I declined to stand up and face Nicole's family, because at that particular moment in my life, I lacked sympathy, empathy, and insight, a fact that engenders shame. However, that feeling of shame pales in comparison to the shame I feel when openly, yet honestly admitting that I also declined to speak because at that particular moment in my life, I also viewed myself as a victim. Viewing myself as a victim, I did what I had become accustomed to doing. I pointed a finger at and blamed everyone else, all the while ignoring the fact that Nicole was dead, and I was the one that picked up that gun, walked into that backyard, and pulled that trigger, period. To say that Nicole's family deserved better is an understatement. I know that I will never be able to rewind time. However, that does not preclude me from wishing that I could. Having this opportunity today allows me to say what I wish I had said on July 16, 1997. To Nicole's family, son, mother, father, sisters, brothers, from the bottom of my heart, I am sincerely and extremely sorry for killing Nicole. What I did was wrong, and I know that it hurt each of you. The realization of the pain I have caused Nicole's family invokes feelings of disgust and contempt for the person I once was. These feelings, in conjunction with the hard work I have done to rehabilitate and transform myself, along with the education I have obtained, are the reasons I can say with absolute certainty that I would never harm another person. I was born in New Haven, Connecticut on August 20th, 1975. I was raised with two older siblings, Dion Henry, who was born in 1969, and Roberto Fernandez, who was born in 1972. I do not have any childhood memories of my father, neither do I have any of my brother's fathers. During my childhood, my mother had several boyfriends. However, due to their lack of concern and participation in our lives, my mother raised us as a single parent. With my father being absent, the males that had the greatest impact on my life were my mother's brothers and my oldest brother and co-defendant, Dion. Dion would eventually become my role model and idol. I wanted to be just like him. As a kid, I was extremely happy and very outgoing. I enjoyed and excelled in school. I loved sports and fishing. Baseball was my favorite. From the age of 9 up until I was 12, I played Little League Baseball at Oyster Point in New Haven. I was a star shortstop and center fielder. Thinking about it right now conjure up mixed emotions. Happiness because I was doing something that I love to do, and sadness because I would always wish that my mother was sitting beside my friend's mother, cheering for me the way my friend's mother was there cheering for her son. My mother never came to watch me play, not once. Up until I was about 10 years old, my mother worked 2 full-time jobs as a nurse's aide. As a kid, I viewed my mother as an excellent provider. However, my mother being gone 16 hours a day, at least 5 days a week, despite her good intentions, made me feel neglected. Without my mother present, I was exposed to numerous things that a child at such a young age should not have been exposed to. I started smoking cigarettes around the age of 8 and marijuana before I was 10. Alcohol and violence was a part of my life since I was very young. The combination was so prevalent that it became normalized. For instance, I have vivid memories of my uncles getting drunk and badly assaulting one another. One night I was standing in my mother's living room watching my uncle play pool with one of his friends when he suddenly grabbed a pool ball and bashed his friend in the head, leaving a visible dent in his friend's head. On another occasion involving alcohol, I watched as one of my uncles picked up a metal roller skate and hit my other uncle in the mouth and knocked all of his front teeth out. I watched another uncle get stabbed by his girlfriend in my mother's kitchen. I can still see him on the floor leaning up against the stove, bleeding out. I also remember when I was about 9 years old, we were having a cookout in my backyard when my mother and her boyfriend Ricky got into an argument. I remember Ricky wrapping his hands around my mother's throat and choking her out while I stood there helpless. When I was about 10 years old, my mother met and eventually married this man named Linwood Buck Stevenson. Prior to marrying Buck, life was far from perfect, but I believe we were doing all right. We had plenty to eat. Every year before school started, we would go shopping for school clothes and supplies. Once Buck entered the picture, everything changed. Suddenly, the refrigerators were empty. Pantry was bare. The shopping for school clothes ceased. Prior to marrying Buck, my mother would have these parties every Saturday night. She would invite all of her friends from work over to our house. Her brothers would also be there. They would play loud music and drink alcohol. Shortly after Buck entered the picture, I would say by the time I turned 11, my mom went from holding down 2 full-time jobs to being jobless and on welfare. Before Buck, those Saturday night parties seemed more like social gatherings where alcohol was freely shared. Shortly after Buck entered the picture, those Saturday night parties became all-day, everyday gatherings where violent alcoholics met, hoping to scrape together enough money to buy liquor for all of them to share. None of the above memories compared to the memory of standing in my mother's kitchen when I was about 11 or 12 years old. I was standing in the kitchen staring at my mother and her husband Buck's locked bedroom door. On the other side of that door was a miniature refrigerator full of food. There was no food in the kitchen, and I was starving. Buck had either forced or convinced my mother to only buy food for their room. I did not know this as a kid, but on that very day, I began to resent my mother. Why had she chosen her husband over me, her own son? Why has he decided to provide for a grown man who is capable of providing for himself while leaving me to survive the best way I knew how? The resentment worsened when I came home from school one day to an empty bedroom. My mother had allowed Buck to sell my bedroom set. When I inquired, the explanation I received was that Buck was going to move us down to Florida where he had supposedly inherited some land, and my bedroom set would not fit in the van that we were supposed to drive down to Florida. We never went to Florida. Thus, I slept on the floor. My mother's drinking became progressively worse. As such, my mother became a source of extreme embarrassment. Our living conditions became so bad, I stopped having friends over. We were constantly without lights, hot water, and heat. During the winter months, my brother Roberto and I would curl up in bed together at night, fully dressed, in an attempt to stay warm. The only food we had was the free food we got from the church once a month. We would often have to bum flour or cornmeal from our upstairs neighbors in order to make fried cornmeal or flour fritters. School eventually became a place I no longer wanted to be because my clothes were either old, dingy, or belonged to one of my brothers and was thus too big. The embarrassment and ridicule that resulted from not having clean or fitting clothes became so unbearable that my middle brother Roberto and I began stealing clothes off of other people's clothesline. To keep the kids at school from teasing me about my clothes and my buck teeth, I resorted to something that I had become quite familiar with by this time: physical violence. I used violence as a means to dominate, intimidate, manipulate, and control the other kids in school. Eventually, I transferred the use of violence from school to the neighborhood. Fighting and violence ultimately became a large part of my identity. Between the ages of 13 and 18, the only difference between my mother and a homeless person hanging out in front of the liquor store begging for change was that Section 8 ensured that my mother had an apartment. Drinking went from taking place out in the open to strictly being done behind the closed locked doors of my mother's bedroom. Most of the time, the people who were in my mother's bedroom were her husband, Buck, some of their friends, and herself. These friends were either alcoholics and or crack cocaine addicts. I remember starting to question whether my mother had started selling her body by choice or force to support her alcohol addiction and her husband's alcohol and crack cocaine addiction. I started selling drugs when I was 13. I remember times when I would come home and my mother would be sitting in the living room shaking because she had not had anything to drink. The sight was painful. Instead of watching her shake, I would give her money for liquor and cigarettes. I wanted my mother sober. I wanted her to kick her addiction. However, as a kid, I had no idea of how to go about helping her. It hurt me deeply watching my mother like that. Sadly, the street culture and selling drugs turned out to be a world that I was very familiar with: addicts and violence. As time passed, I got deeper and deeper into the streets until eventually I completely lost my way. On August 18, 1995, between 12 a.m. and 1 a.m., my brother, Michael Beverly, and I drove to 74 Orchard Street. My brother and I were involved in an ongoing dispute with Lamont Carter. I entered the backyard that night hoping to retaliate against Carter for the prior shootings. Shortly after entering the yard, Carter, Nicole, and Richard came walking up the driveway. When I spotted Carter, I pulled out my gun and started firing in his direction. As a result, Nicole was murdered and Carter suffered serious injuries. After my arrest, I failed to immediately seek the necessary help I needed in order to address the issues and behaviors that contributed to my incarceration. Therefore, my behaviors persisted, culminating with me assaulting a correctional officer. On May 21st, 2006, I was playing poker with 4 other incarcerated persons when the correctional officer who was working in the unit approached me and stated that I had to get up from the table and stop gambling. In my distorted way of thinking, I thought the officer was singling me out, which made me angry. While sitting at a nearby table, I watched the other incarcerated people continue to play cards. During this time, my anger continued to escalate until I reached the emotional and irrational decision to attack and assault the officer. As a result, I was transferred to Northern Correctional Institution and placed in isolation. I was charged with assault, and the court offered me 3 years to run consecutive to the sentence that I was already serving. I immediately accepted the plea offer and pled guilty. Prior to my placement in isolation, I had been distracting myself with such things as basketball, cards, television, and video games. In isolation, I was not afforded such distractions. Therefore, I was forced to sit with myself and face the horrors of my reality. As strange as it may sound, isolation provided me with a safe space. While sitting in isolation, I built up enough courage to remove the mask that I had been wearing for so many years. Consequently, the removal of my mask became the catalyst for my introspection, which led to me seeking the answers to such questions as, why are you so angry? And why are you capable of hurting other people? It was during this introspective process that I discovered the source of my anger, which turned out to be my mother. I also discovered that I was capable of hurting other people because I was hurting. While I had hurt other people, subconsciously I believed the person that I truly wanted to hurt was my mother. I wanted to hurt her for not being able to kick her addiction when I needed her most, and for choosing her husband over me. However, she was my mother. Shortly after this revelation, I built up the courage to confront my mother. During our conversation, I expressed my feelings about my childhood. Her initial stance was that I needed to take responsibility for my actions. After the conversation, we did not speak for a couple of days. When we did speak again, my mother acknowledged my feelings, which enabled us to start the reconciliation process. After working through my issues with my mother, I felt like a sack that had been accumulating weight for 20-something years had been removed from my back. And the anger and the blindness that had been placed over my eyes by anger had also been removed. Having this mental and visual clarity enabled me to put things into perspective. The first thing I realized was before I could move forward, I had to give up all hope for a better past. I had to accept the fact that I would never be able to change the beginning, but what I could do was start where I was at and change the ending. Adopting this perspective had an immediate impact. While in isolation, there were only a couple of programs available, such as Cage Your Rage and Thinking for a Change. Instead of using the self-created obstacle of isolation as an excuse, I decided to view it as an opportunity to educate, rehabilitate, and transform myself. I started by asking everyone I knew, my mother included, to order and send me books. I used these books as tools, which allowed me to reimagine, repurpose, and ultimately transform the cells I was housed in into universities. In January 2008, the Connecticut Department of Corrections transferred me to New Jersey, where my placement in solitary confinement continued. In spite of my continued placement in solitary confinement, I maintained my desire and resolve to educate and transform myself. In 2009, I made the huge decision to change my name to Ode Obataye. Changing my name was the most powerful way I could imagine to signify to everyone, myself included, that I was no longer the person I used to be. From May 2006 until November 2014, I was in isolation. I spent this time educating myself and carefully nurturing my new identity. Once placed back into the general population, I began to enroll in programs geared toward my rehabilitation and transformation. These programs reinforced the understanding that I obtained while in isolation. Furthermore, these programs provided me with a language that enabled me to identify the catalyst for my negative thoughts and behaviors. For instance, I enrolled in Thinking for a Change, which is a cognitive behavior program. In this program, I learned that the thoughts I adopt, influence, and even control my behaviors, my feelings, which in turn dictate my behaviors. Acquiring this language allowed me to realize that my distorted and irrational thinking contributed to my flawed interpretation of the interaction between me and the correctional officer. In that instance, I chose to jump to conclusions without having all the facts, believing that the officer was singling me out. These negative thoughts produced feelings of anger, which I expressed in the form of violence. Today, when faced with interpersonal conflict, I immediately dispute any negative thoughts that come to mind. This enables me to avoid emotions that in the past would have spurred me to violence. I also enrolled in Cage of Rage. Cage of Rage, like Thinking for a Change, equipped me with tools and language that I did not possess prior to enrolling. One of those tools is the timeout. The timeout is a tool that I use today whenever I feel myself becoming frustrated or angry. Prior to having the timeout as a tool that I could utilize, I would allow, and in many cases, provoke the escalation of a situation. Today, when faced with confrontation, I immediately withdraw. For instance, one day I found myself in a situation where a person was attempting to argue with me over which one of us was next in the shower. I was certain that I was next, and therefore thought the person was trying to get over on me. As soon as I felt myself starting to become frustrated, I withdrew myself from the situation and allowed the person to have the shower. I returned to the cell and began to analyze the situation using the techniques I learned in Cage of Rage program. I also enrolled in Focus on the Victim to gain a better understanding of how my actions has and continues to affect Nicole's family, the Carter family, the Beverly family, the officer, and the officer's family, as well as my own family. The program provided me with the opportunity to understand the harm beyond the physical act of violence. The program made me aware of the emotional and financial components of my actions. Learning about the far-reaching effects of my actions provided me with a higher sense of empathy and shame for the acts I committed. The most important thing I learned from Focus on the Victim is how my actions possibly force the victims to reevaluate everything they may have once believed in, even God. Two of the most powerful and impactful programs that I participated in are the New Jersey Scholarship and Transformative Education in Prison Program and Toastmasters. NJ STEP is the prison education program. Attending college taught me the true importance of education. In the course of earning my associate's degree, I learned that education and transformation goes hand in hand. I also learned that education is liberating, that not only frees an individual's mind, but also provides an individual with options. Graduating summa cum laude with a 3.96 GPA, being the valedictorian of my graduating class, and being inducted to the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society have been highlights of my academic journey. Another highlight was having the administrator, who was a counselor in the isolation unit when I arrived in New Jersey 18 years ago, come up to me and my mother on graduation day, shake my hand, and then tell my mother how proud she was of me. Toastmasters is another program that has played a major role in my transformation. The program helped me build my confidence. It also helped me refine and strengthen my leadership skills and qualities. As Vice President of Education for Toastmasters, I was responsible for creating educational programs such as the business class, which helps students prepare and complete their own business plan and proposal by the end of a 16-week cycle. I also created a writing class that aims to have every student have something ready to be published by the end of the course. Understanding the personal as well as the financial benefits of being bilingual, I also started a Spanish class that non-Spanish speaking IPs or Spanish speaking IPs that are not fluent could participate in and learn how to speak Spanish. These programs were not only made available to the members of Toastmasters, but to the entire East Jersey State Prison population. If asked to pick one thing that Toastmasters taught me, I would say that Toastmasters taught me how to be a confident leader. The confidence I gained from Toastmasters, as well as the ability to effectively communicate, helped me in my roles as a tutor, teacher's assistant, clerk, and librarian. As a clerk and teacher's assistant for the NJ STEP program, I work in the office with the student counselor and the student counselor supervisor from Rutgers University. In this role, I also work intimately with over 200 students enrolled in the Raritan Valley Community College Associate's Degree Program, the Rutgers University Bachelor's Degree Program, and the Drew University's Master's Degree Program. My responsibilities include helping students enroll for classes, drop classes, pick up, as well as withdraw from classes. I also serve as a de facto academic advisor. I am also responsible for making sure students have their books and supplies for class. Furthermore, I serve as a liaison between the students and the college's faculty and administrative staff. Everything that I have been through, everything that I have learned over the past 30 years have shaped me into the person I am today. Today, I am no longer the lost, confused, and ignorant boy I was on August 18th, 1995. I am no longer the selfish, thoughtless, unsympathetic boy I was on July 16th, 1997, who declined to face Nicole's family and take responsibility for killing Nicole. I am no longer the hurt, angry person I was who assaulted the correctional officer on May 21st, 2006. Today, I am a focused, organized, aware, unselfish, rehabilitated, transformed, and most important, remorseful 50-year-old man who understands that remorse is more than a word. A man who understands that remorse is more than the two words, I'm sorry. A man who knows that remorse is a resolution, a commitment to self, never to violate or transgress in such manner ever again. Today, I know that remorse, when not followed by an excuse, can only be expressed by a person who understands the effects of their cause. To Nicole's family, I am sincerely extremely sorry for killing Nicole. It is my goal to help other families from experiencing the pain from experiencing the pain caused each of you to endure. To my mother, who has been sober for approximately 32 years, would not have been to endure this without you. To every single person that I am responsible for causing pain, from the depths of my heart, I apologize. I am sincerely sorry. If I am released on parole, I would like to stay with my mother, Maggie Oaten, and my stepfather, Timothy Oaten, who have been happily married, who have been happily together for over 30 years, and happily married for approximately 2 decades. Both are willing to provide the emotional support I would need while making the transition from incarceration to community. Both are also willing to and capable of providing material help such as clothing, transportation, and finance. Even though my family will function as my primary supporters, I recognize the need to have a wider network of people that I can rely on for emotional and moral support. I understand that a situation may arise that my family may not be equipped to help me with. Therefore, my goal is to connect with and become a part of the community by joining local groups and organizations such as the New Haven Reentry Roundtable and Toastmasters. I will also stay in contact with the Rutgers University Transition Team, which helps all participants of the NJ STEP program transition back into society. Their assistance consists of help with registering for school, even if the school is in another state. They also assist with employment and housing. They also provide certain finances for those in need. I will also continue to build on the connections that I have developed with the professors and others from Rutgers University, Drew University, and Ramsden Valley Community College. Within the first 6 months of my release, I plan to have all of my identification, including my driver's permit license. I also plan to have a part-time job. The reason for part-time employment instead of full-time employment is that I plan to enroll at either the University of Connecticut or the University of New Haven as a full-time student. My mother and stepfather are also willing and capable of providing me with a motor vehicle, which will enable me to navigate back and forth between work and school. I will also establish both savings and checkings accounts and will also be intentional about working on building my credit. I am aware of the hurdles and barriers associated with re-entering society after incarceration. Therefore, I have built in a plan B in the event that my original plan is unsuccessful. For instance, if the promise of employment that I have provided the board with, C&J Construction, does not materialize, I will reach out to the NAACP Million Jobs campaign, which helps formerly incarcerated persons find employment. I will also reach out to Vanessa Simmons of the Urban League of Southern Connecticut. If school does not work, the plan is to pursue further welding certification. If released, I will also seek counseling. I will also seek counseling through the Husky Healthcare Insurance Plan that I will be provided so that I can continue to address my childhood traumas, as well as the traumas associated with my conviction and incarceration. 30 years in prison is a long time, and I believe counseling will prove to be beneficial. As a firm believer in giving back and paying forward, I recently established a professional connection with Sergeant Jasmine Sanders of the New Haven Police Department. Once I am established, pending the consent of my parole officer, Sergeant Sanders and I, in conjunction with the New Haven Police Department, plan to discuss and possibly work towards establishing a program I created called Voices Over Violence. The core purpose of Voices Over Violence is to help youth develop essential communication and leadership skills, which can ultimately help them transform their lives as well as the lives of those in their communities. I believe the inability to effectively communicate hinders and frustrates people of all ages. However, I believe that youth, due to their limited lived experience and lack of maturity, are more likely to express their frustration in the form of anger or violence. My belief is supported by the likes of Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. In his book, The Body Keeps the Score, when referring to juveniles involved with the legal system, Dr. van der Kolk states, if they rely on four-letter words, it's not only to show they're tough, but because they have no other language to communicate who they are or what they feel. When they discover the richness and the potential of language, they often have a visceral experience of joy. Therefore, I believe if we can help the youth develop essential communication and leadership skills, they will in turn be able to transform their lives and help transform the lives of those in their communities. Again, I would like to express my sincerest gratitude to the honorable members of this board for providing me with this opportunity today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir, for that statement. You certainly provided us with a lot of information. I understand you had a legal name change. What name do you prefer?
O'Day.
Okay, that's a first name, last name, Obate?
Obataye.
Obataye. I apologize for the mispronunciation. Okay, so we'll use the names obviously interchangeably because you were convicted under the name and DOC recognized the name Terry Porty. For official purposes, we'll use that name, but Obataye, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Obataye, in preparation for today's hearing, this panel has reviewed many documents. So we have the police report, the court transcripts, we have commutation documents, the packet that Attorney Elias sent to us. We have documents that the State's Attorney's Office sent to us. In addition, we received reports from both the Connecticut Department of Correction and the New Jersey facility where you are now. We have letters of support from your family, friends, currently and formerly incarcerated individuals. So we have a lot of information. We're very well-versed in your case. In addition, you provided us with information. We may have some additional questions. When we're done with our questioning, we'll turn to the Office of Victim Services to facilitate victim input. And then State's Attorney's Office, Attorney Doyle will have the opportunity to speak, as well as your attorney. Do you have any questions about the process?
No.
Okay, so we'll begin with my colleague, Ms. Berry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Obataye, thank you very much for your opening statement. As the chair stated, you really did cover a lot of ground, a lot of things that we would ask to get some better understanding of who you are today versus who you were back then. So I appreciate all that you shared. I want to commend you on your educational pursuits. And I'm happy to hear that you're giving back in the facility and working diligently on helping others better themselves. So I appreciate all of that. Well, first I would like to start with why you took this case to trial.
At that particular time, I was unwilling to accept responsibility for my actions. I just always operated from this stance of seeing myself as a victim. So when I was arrested, I still found some way to point the finger at everyone else instead of realizing that I was in the position that I was in based on the decisions that I made. And thus, I was looking for any way out.
So looking for any way out, we're going to circle back to that at some point. But so you I mean, I saw when you were discussing, when you were asked by the officer why this whole all transpired. I understand that it was like a turf war or something going between you. You were not a gang member, right?
No,
So when the officer asked you what happened, you were referring to the victim as another name. I was like, who is that? But you also said something about Dennis Beverly owing you money.
yeah,
Who is that?
that was Michael's younger brother, Michael Beverly's younger brother.
Oh, one of your co-defendants.
Yes.
So help me understand, what does that have to do with your lying in wait for this victim?
So Dennis Beverly was working for someone that Lamont Carter was, I would guess you would say, like a lieutenant for, held rank under. So Dennis Beverly would have been responsible for reporting to Lamont Carter. So when I expressed taking some drugs and money from Dennis Beverly, he went and told Carter what I had done, therefore prompting Carter to approach my brother, who was also on the street that evening, and inquiring about what I had done, which prompted him to tell my brother that he had to leave the area. And as my brother went to leave the area, that's when Carter pulled out a gun and started firing at my brother.
Was your brother shot by or struck by any of those bullets?
No,
And so this was all a retaliation because this victim was shooting at your brother.
yes,
And you admit that you went to the victim's home with the intention of killing him.
yes.
How many times did you shoot the victim? Well, not the deceased victim, the actual person that you intended to kill.
I'm not certain if any. As far as the bullets that they removed from Mr. Carter, none of them came from the gun that I discharged.
So it was your brother who shot and actually struck the other victim?
My brother shot and struck Carter, and the bullets from my gun actually struck Nicole.
And how many times did you shoot her?
I believe twice.
All right, so now let's move forward. And you were arrested for this offense when?
August 18th, 1995.
So you were arrested the same day.
Yes,
So now you're in the facility and I see that you accumulated 19 disciplinary infractions over the time that you were in the prison in Connecticut. And then we come up to May 2006. And you said you were playing cards with your co-defendants. I mean, you were playing cards with some other offenders in the facility. And when I read the ticket, it said that it was not lockup time. You guys were about to go to bed or something like that. It was time for lockdown. Is that right? Is that the right term?
I didn't hear the last part. If you could repeat it for me, please.
It was time to lock down, like it was time for you all to go to bed or whatever. It was late.
It was close. Yes, it was close to what they would call a recall.
Or what?
Recall. So, like you
Recall.
said, close to lock-in time.
Okay. All right. And so you thought that this female correctional officer was personally attacking you.
Yeah.
And what gave you that impression?
Well, there was 4 or 5 of us at the table, and she came directly to me, and I was the only one that she told had to stop playing cards.
And so she asked you if everything was okay. if you were okay or something like that and walked back to the bubble and what happened?
No, I believe that's what the conversation that transpired between her and my brother when he approached the like officer's desk. I believe that's something she said to him, like, was he okay?
And so how did you get involved?
So when he walked up to the desk, I seen them conversing. I was sitting at a table off to the side, and I got involved because I just ran up to the desk and ran behind the desk and assaulted the officer.
So your brother was talking to her and you assaulted her?
Yes.
And why did your brother get involved?
So when I was sitting at the table, he came over to the table. He could see that I was upset. He asked me what had happened. I explained to him, and I believe his intent was to go over to the officer and have a conversation with her in an attempt to resolve the issue. And me not having control of my anger, I decided that the way for me to express myself or to show how I was feeling was to irrationally make a decision to assault the officer.
And my read again of the ticket said that you punched her, she fell to the ground, and you got on top of her and was still punching her. Is that right?
No.
Okay, tell me what. So tell me
So
what.
I did punch her, and she did fall, and I did not hit her again.
So how did the other correctional officer get involved? Because it's my understanding that someone was trying to get you off of her.
Yes, so behind the desk, there was two officers. There was Officer Barrows and Officer Morris, I believe. And so two officers operate the desk area. So he was back there as well.
So you were that angry and that aggressive towards a woman that someone had to come and take you off of her to stop you from assaulting her?
I wouldn't say take me off because as I said, so the way the desk is set up, it's a couple of steps right here. She was sitting right here. So he would have been over here. So when I came up the steps, she stood up. I hit her. She fell and I didn't touch her again. So he was more than likely just protecting her to make sure nothing else happened to her. And
So how did you hit the other officer then?
excuse me, can you say that
How
again,
did you
please?
hit the other officer? There were two correctional officers involved. How did you, go ahead.
Officer Morris, as I said, he came over to protect her. I believe initially in the process, he hit me in the head with his walkie-talkie. So I turned to him and I actually grabbed him. And was tussling with him.
Okay. So you didn't hit him?
I would call that hitting, yes.
And do you know what injuries the female officer sustained?
Yes, from the report, it said a laceration above her eye, like 3 centimeters or millimeters or some laceration above the eye.
Okay. So let's move forward, Mr. Obataya. I appreciate your acceptance of responsibility for your actions. It was very, very concerning, all of this. And I understand that you, while in SEG, you really began to reflect on your actions and where they derived, and you were able to take the necessary steps to begin changing your life. So a little earlier, you said that you took the case to trial because you felt as if you were the victim. And you said also about the segregation part that you realized that you weren't the victim. You had a discussion with your mother, all that stuff. But as soon as you tried numerous times to have this sentence reduced. Is that true?
Yes,
So the first time was, I know that you received an automatic reduction in 1997. Your sentence was originally 80 years and it was reduced down to 78, right?
75,
Plus the 3.
yes.
That was, okay. So, all right, so 75, okay. And then when was the next time that you tried to get your sentence reduced?
The next time after a direct appeal,
You asked for sentence modifications or what you appeals or what?
I filed sentence modification. I also filed for commutation. Both were denied.
How many
And
times did you
again,
ask for sentence modification?
once.
I did see the commutation as the chair stated in her opening comments to you. But I saw, because you had a different attorney at one point, and it said that you filed the paperwork on your own initially, and then he entered an appearance on your behalf,
Yes,
and that was in 2022.
yes.
So you never filed for anything else before 2022?
I filed after the direct appeal. My lawyer, I think I was in Virginia at the time, and the lawyer wrote to me saying that I had a certain amount of time to continue to appeal, and I either misunderstood or was given unclear advice and end up in federal court, some Second Circuit court.
Okay. So so you've appealed your case. How many times have you tried to appeal? Just once?
Well, direct appeal, that federal, I guess you would consider that a form of appeal, sentence modification and commutation.
Okay. So the appeals, what were the premise for those?
No, one was ineffective assistance of counsel. Another issue may have been inability to confront witness.
So what do you think that would have changed though? Because you said that you accepted responsibility back in 2006. So what is the premise that you felt that your sentence should have been changed?
But early on, it was what I stated. Later, it became, I think we filed sentence modification and commutation under the age. So being under 21, I think that was the premise. But something that I would like to state, if you don't mind, is that in no form am I expressing or should my filing for commutation or sentence modification imply that I feel that the judge, the prosecution, or the jury got it wrong. I totally agree that they got it right. I am guilty as convicted. I believe at a certain point, the realization of possibly spending the rest of my life in prison became tremendously frightful. So my decision to file for commutation or sentence modification was not to suggest that they got it wrong. It was basically a cry for help from me.
So what do you think a fair sentence is, Mr. Obadiah? Oh, I'm saying that, said that wrong.
I believe a fair sentence is what I got, because in no way did the judge go over what the statute said he can give me. And therefore, I cannot say it was unfair. He didn't go outside the guidelines. He felt that the crime fitted the time, suited the crime. And again, I'm not disputing that my sentence is unfair.
Okay. I mean, but when a person asks for a sentence modification or tries to appeal a case, that is the implication, that you felt that your sentence was too much. Okay, so let's move forward. Now that we've talked about the appeal process, the sentence mods, the commutation, how do you think you're asking for so many different forms of relief? How do you think that impacts the victim's family?
Tremendously, and I think about it all the time. I just couldn't even imagine if I was in their shoes and how I would feel if I had to live through that.
Like every single time that you ask for something, if they receive a notification about it, it's like they're reliving this all over again. And then, I mean, honestly, it was a senseless act of violence, and she was innocent in all of this. And now she's no longer with us. And so tell us what you believe could provide some comfort with this victim, or provide them with some sort of, they're never ever going to be made whole, but something comforting to let them see that you're a different person and that you just want to be able to give back to your community for their loss. Or in
I
honor.
would say that my purpose and my desire, I hope that I have expressed and demonstrated through my actions that I have not only analyzed the issues that led to my incarceration, but I've corrected those behaviors and attitudes. I've completely changed my perspective or worldview, how I view the world. And I plan on doing everything in my power to give back and prevent other families from facing the traumas that I have caused Nicole's family, Carter's family, Beverly's family, the officer's family to go through. And I say this knowing that I would never, ever harm another person. I made this transformation based off of intrinsic motivators. I had no idea that one day, 2023, they would be passing some bill that would afford me the opportunity to be sitting before you this morning. I consciously made the decision to change my life. And I hope that that provides everyone here this morning with insight into the person that sits before you today. I am totally sympathetic, empathetic, understanding on all the harm that I have caused. And I would do everything in my power to prevent younger people from going down the path that I went down, help them understand that trauma is a real thing that needs to be addressed. It should not be silenced or repressed. And I just truly hope that I've displayed this, that I'm no longer the person I was in 1995, 1997, or 2006.
So Mr. Obataia, I appreciate that. I don't think any of us are the same people that we were several years ago. And I'm sure that you also know that you are not the only person who's experienced trauma in their lives. And a lot of people are not sitting behind prison because of that trauma. So while I understand that it's provided you with some insight into your behaviors, I understand it doesn't really lessen what you did, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. And I think I just had one last question, and that was, I don't know where I wrote it, so I have so many notes, so from, reviewing your file. But you really have, in my opinion, done, a lot of work on turning your life around. And I really do hope that you are, oh, that was my question. I really do hope that you are successful. Whether you're granted parole here today, I just hope that you continue on a positive path. My last question is, you're with the Department of Corrections until the year 1970. I won't be alive then. But so what happens should you be denied here today and made to serve the remainder of your sentence?
I'll continue to do what I've decided to do. So I truly believe that I found my purpose. And my purpose is to help others, give back to others. Like, I've been doing it, I'm gonna continue to do it. And I know that it's beneficial. I get confirmation of that every day. Just this morning, as I went to the shower to get in the shower, a fellow prisoner was sitting on the bench next to the shower I was about to get into, and he didn't know I was coming to parole today. And he said to me, he said, "Well, Dave, it's time for you to get some relief." And I looked at him. I said, "Did you know that I go up today?" And he said, "No." He said, "I just feel that." He said, "I've been watching you for years and I see what you do and you continue to do it." And he mentioned Mr. Blackwell, who I submitted a reference letter from, who was someone I spent a lot of time with, who's just recently been released. And he said, "I watch you guys do what y'all do every day, year in and year out. And that's what I'll continue to do."
Great. Thank you very much for answering my questions, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. Okay, Mr. Obataye, so I just want to put on the record, you were 19 years old when you committed your offense, correct? You were
Yes.
close to 20. You've been incarcerated for about 30 years now?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not here to retry the case. That's been done. You've been convicted. You're serving time for it. But I do want to provide some context about your mindset at that time. So can you tell us what was the plan that day? Obviously, you went there with your co-defendant. There was some conversations beforehand. What was the plan?
So, in my distorted way of thinking, I believe that in that neighborhood, I had this, what I believe to be sort of power or control over some of the guys in the neighborhood. And Carter became a threat to that power and control. And as I said, in my distorted way of thinking, I didn't want to give up that power or perceived power and control that I had. And so my thought was to get Carter out of the way. And if that meant harming him, if he ended up dead, that's where my mind was at that time. And I'm
Okay.
truly and extremely sorry for.
No, and I appreciate the honesty. So your plan was to go and kill him that day. Okay. All right. Any idea how that victim is doing today? What happened as a result of your offenses?
You mean Carter?
Yeah.
I'm not certain. I haven't seen Carter since 1997 when we went to court. So I'm not absolutely certain.
Okay. So, I mean, I wonder, how often do you sit and reflect on the fact that it was your intention? You planned to go and murder someone that day.
All the time. All the time. And it disgusts me to know that that's something that I did, something that I would never be able to take back. And I think that's the hardest part, knowing that once something is done, it's done. And you can't go back.
Right.
I could imagine, again, if someone did that to someone that I loved or cared about.
Yeah. And I did appreciate in your opening statement, your explanation for where all the anger in your heart came from. Because although we read about your childhood, you really painted a better picture of what your upbringing was like and the anger that you held inside of you. And how did you overcome that with your mother?
So I was a coward for a lot of years. And when I say that, what I mean is that I didn't have the courage to tell my brother that I wasn't that person, that is not the person I wanted to be. And so I wore this mask. And when I was placed in isolation, I was truly isolated. I didn't have to pretend to be anyone. I was free to be exactly the person that I truly am. And so, sitting in isolation, I was able to look at myself. Why? Is this truly who you are? And I began to question myself, like, why do you do the things you do? Why are you so upset? Why are you so angry? How can you harm another human being? And I really sat and dove into those questions. And the thing that kept coming up was the experiences I had. I felt abandoned by my mother. And I really learned that that was the thing that was truly bothering me. And so I built up the courage to confront her. And once I did, it just like, I felt free. I was no longer mad. She acknowledged my feelings, that they were valid, that she could have done a better job. And it just put me on this path now where I could truly be the person that I always wanted to be. As I said, as a kid, I was very outgoing, happy. I loved school. I loved fishing. I loved sports. Like that's me.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh. Did we lose the connection?
It's with all due respect to the board, when I meet with my client virtually, it's timed. So I wonder if this was timed as well. They can put him back on though.
Okay, give me 1 second till I meet with our media technician.
Thank you, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I guess not.
Oh, back. No, it's not.
That's all. There's his DOC legal something or other.
Or like now, Christmas or like in December. So I mean, we'll see what the pledge. Switzerland.
Madam Chair, Board, and attorneys, I did just get off the phone with New Jersey. They are working to reconnect Mr. Obadiah if we can get him. They were not aware that their equipment shut off.
If I may request from the board, can I have permission to step away for 5 minutes and I will come right back? And if he comes back, feel free to start without me, but I'm here. Thank you.
Sir, we're looking for Mr. Porty. Obadiah or Mr. Porty. Board members, I am going to call New Jersey again to ask them to unmute since it is all handled remotely on their end.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Porty, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's get started just a second. Again, we are back on the record for the parole hearing in regards to Terry Party. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so in the interest of time, because we've now run into the next hearing, we have several hearings going on today. We're going to finish. We're going to be done with our questioning now, and I'll ask Attorney Elias to please keep your comments brief at the end. We want to allow the victims time to speak. I have one final question, though. Mr. Obadiah, did you have any disciplinary reports while in New Jersey?
No,
None at all. Okay.
no.
So at this time, we'll ask the Office of Victim Services to facilitate victim input. Mr. Jesus, thank you for joining us.
Good morning, board members. I do have a statement that I'll be reading first, and then I'll be allowing other victims to address the panel members. I'll begin
Thank
with
you.
the statement. To whom it may concern, I am providing this statement to confirm that I am one of Porte's victims. This is the first time I have shared my story publicly. Aside from discussions with medical professionals regarding the incident that has had a profound impact on me to this day. The attack has left me with ongoing mental and physical health issues. This has not only affected me, but also my loved ones, including family and friends. I had hoped that with time, I would be able to recover and regain my health, but unfortunately, that has not been possible. I continue to require medical treatment for my injuries, and I still experience panic attacks when I recall the incident. Due to this, I have lost all sense of security, even in my own home. The reason he was sent to jail and the other occurrences that have brought out his sense of violence is a pattern that needs to be reviewed when deciding his early release. I believe if he is released before time, he can bring harm to someone else and not think about his actions. I strongly urge that he serve his full sentence. I do not want to think that he could be released and potentially harm others, both physically and emotionally, in the same way that I and other victims were injured. I hope that my statement will provide valuable insight and contribute to the decision to have him serve his full sentence. Thank you. I will now ask family members to unmute and begin their statements one at a time, please. And I just need to remind you that you are to address the panel members only, and you may begin by unmuting.
Good morning, this is Robert Moore, Nicole Moore's brother. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on my sister's behalf. This defendant and others thought it would be cool to go out and kill my sister Nicole and wound others. Nicole was 19 years old. She was a mother, a daughter, a sister, an aunt, and cousins to many others. Nicole is no longer with us, but she leaves behind a grieving mother, 5 older brothers, 2 sisters, and a son who will never have the opportunity of getting to know his mother, and she never getting to know her grandchildren. Why does this defendant feel that he deserves to be free? Why does he feel that he can take an innocent life, ruin a family, but ask for mercy to return to his family and continue with his life as though he did not commit a senseless and heinous murder? He did not show Nicole no mercy when he and others ambushed and shot her multiple times throughout her body. And instead of calling the ambulance or the police, what did they do? It ran like Powers, who just shot a 19-year-old innocent female to death. Where is Nicole's mercy? When does Nicole get to return to her family and continue with her life? Be mother to her son and grandmother to her grandchildren. My last visit with Nicole came via the New Haven Register newspaper article explaining how she died, lying on the ground at the murder scene. My baby sister Nicole was lying there dead, unmoving, on the cold ground, not breathing, blood everywhere, and alone. My family will cherish the memory of our beloved Nicole. She will remain in our hearts and minds because she gave us so much to remember during her short life. It is my recommendation today that the court deny the request from this defendant for parole. New Haven is a safer city with him incarcerated. Respectfully, Robert Moore, Nicole Moore's brother. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on my sister's behalf.
Thank you. I will now ask the other brother to unmute. This is your opportunity to express to the board your wishes and your concerns. I am to remind you that you are to address the panel members only, and you may begin. *6 to unmute. Pardon me, board members, if you can please give me a minute.
Thank you.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. How you doing? Good morning. My name is Kevin Moore. On behalf of my sister Nicole Moore, my brother speaks for the Moore family, all her siblings, her mother, and that's all I really have to say.
Thank you very much. You may hit *6 to, #6 to mute again, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will now ask the sister to please unmute, and you may address the board with your statement.
Hi, this is Sharon. I'm Nicole's older sister. I can't address the board today. I
Okay,
won't
thank you
be
very
addressing
much.
the board today.
I'm sorry?
I can't address the board today.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all I have, board members.
Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, each of the attorneys present will be afforded an opportunity to make a statement. We'll begin with State's Attorney Doyle. If you have any comments or remarks, you may proceed.
Thank you to the board. Good morning. I'm not going to try to belabor what the Moore family just indicated. What I would indicate is it's important to note that over the last several years between this defendant and the co-defendant, I believe that the Moore family, and any of them can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm looking at my notes that this is going to be the 8th related hearing in regards to this defendant and the co-defendant, between sentence mods, commutations, motions to correct the legal sentence, the hearings such as this, as well as habeas petitions and a variety of other things. So I want to thank Kevin Moore and Robert Moore for addressing the panel today. In the past, James Moore has addressed a panel in the past. It's my opinion that Sharon Moore, who probably signed up to address the court this morning after being here all day, probably just couldn't get her emotions enough to be able to address the panel because of how difficult this is for them. But as you've heard, and as my notes reflect, Nicole Moore left 5 brothers, 2 sisters, and a son. I want to just outline a little bit, Your Honor. I mean, this board knows what the defendant was convicted of. His conviction was affirmed by the appellate court in 1999. He appealed that to the Supreme Court, which denied that and left it to the appellate court decision. His brother's sentence mod was denied in 2021. Mr. Portee had a sentence mod denied in 2022 by Judge Vitale. If you didn't have it already, I believe last week I sent you the memorandum of that decision as well as the transcript of that. And I'll leave it for you to know what Judge Vitale noted in regards to that. At the time that this offense occurred, Mr. Obadiah or Mr. Portee was no stranger to the criminal justice system. He had 2 prior weapon convictions at the time. He was on probation for weapon conviction. I'll stand corrected if I'm wrong with that, but I do know that he was on probation at the time of this offense, having the 2 prior weapon convictions. Whether he was on probation for the weapon or something else, I'm not sure, but I do know that he was on probation at the time. He's made a habeas claim in the past, claiming ineffective assistance of counsel. And as noted that this is, I think one of the board members asked if he filed anything other than the habeases or the sentence mods or the commutations. He did about 6 months ago apply for a motion for jail credit on this matter, which was denied by Judge Hartman. A jury of 12 New Haven citizens convicted him of some serious offenses, and at the time, Judge Haddon imposed what he thought was an appropriate serious sentence for yes. I understand under the statutes that the board has the authority, the power to release him on parole based on statutes that come into effect based on his age at the time of the offense. But on behalf of the Moore family, on behalf of the state of Connecticut, behalf of the greater New Haven community and others, I would ask that you not reduce that sentence. I also wanted to note a few things that are just very important here. And Board Member Chance had asked, about whether there was gang activity involved, whether there was drug activity involved. I can represent in reviewing this matter and all the co-defendants. I don't see any gang activity involved whatsoever. But that doesn't mean that the activities and behaviors of 2 men who decided, by the way, planned the night before. This wasn't a spontaneous come upon each other, let's pull a gun that we're not supposed to have and shoot somebody. They went looking and targeting Mr. Carter. When they observed Mr. Carter or Mr. Massenberg walking down the street or exiting a location while in presence of Miss Moore, they took aim, they fired, and they struck Miss Moore twice. She was struck total 5 times, of which two shell casings and the bullets in the projectiles were matched to the weapon that was later recovered from this defendant, whom, as one of the brother indicated, thereafter ran, hid, and when he was found nearby and the gun was found nearby. Never made any calls of maybe somebody should call 911, maybe somebody should do something for a young woman that was just shot and killed that wasn't even our intended victim. I would also note, I thought it was interesting when the board is asking of all the things that the defendant is attempting to do and to rehabilitate himself, of which some are very positive, no doubt. But I would also point how much of that does make up for taking the life of a young woman who's now left her family devastated. We look at all the things of the different backgrounds that people have. And one also what one of the board members noted there, and again, I believe it was Board Member Chance noted that the defendant.
Barry, I'm sorry, Attorney General, it's Barry.
I'm sorry,
Barry?
I apologize.
Yeah.
Barry. That was noted this morning about a lot of people have trauma in their lives. And what we need to also balance is the trauma that this defendant has caused in other people's lives. And I think that we need to take that into account, and I'd ask the board to also take that into account. I do also want to point out when his efforts to rehabilitate himself, I did happen, he had mentioned that he had been working with Sergeant Sanders of the New Haven Police Department. And while we were waiting in break, I did reach out to her. I have an email from her that Mr. Portee emailed her some point back in February and noted that he was looking to start a relationship with her for when he gets released or is seeking to get released, because I came across your information as I'm scheduled for parole hearing this month. This was an email in February of 26th of this year. So I wanted to just point that out so you could put that in context of his efforts to rehabilitate himself. While some of them are positive, this was merely an email to Sergeant Sanders, not a discussion about establishing some, he does mention some nonprofit that he wants to organize, but this was not anything that's been established or adopted by the New Haven Police Department. I would ask the panel to take into account all of these factors and deny this request for parole at this time. Thank you, and thank you to the board and all its members.
Thank you, Attorney Doyle.
I just ask Attorney Doyle a question just based on what.
Yes.
Attorney Doyle, in the documents you provided us, it said that Mr. Forte was denied a sentence modification hearing by the state's attorney's office in November of 2020.
One of the things that there's definitely, what I'm looking back and determining is I think that there's no doubt in 22, he was denied by Judge Vitale because I was present for that hearing. I believe what happened in 2020 was the situation before the statutes changed. Remember that the second one changed in 23. And at that time, our office had the ability to essentially grant or deny or agree to a hearing. And this office denied that request. Then the law changed and he got it automatically because it was after a trial. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Doyle. At this time, Attorney Elias, if you have any final remarks would like to make, you may do so now.
Thank you, and I will try to be as succinct as possible. Just want to thank the board for listening to Mr. Obataye and for giving me the few minutes now. I do want to point out that Attorney Doyle did contact, as he indicated, the sergeant. Mr. Obataye never said he was working with her. What he said is he had reached out and that they were going to have further communication with the permission of his parole officer when he gets out, which I think is a bit different. There's also a letter that the board received from a Mr. Ray Boyd, who is formerly incarcerated, works with Yale, and also has some programs that he is involved with that he hopes to work with Mr. Obataye as well. So I do think his trying to work within the community in a positive way is sincere. No disagreement with what the victim said. And as the board can see, Mr. Obataye's remorse is genuine and everything they said was accurate, but he's not the person he was. That's who he was. And he thankfully, between his own work and the work of DOC in New Jersey, has become somebody very different. As far as the multiple attempts to change the circumstances of his incarceration, it was not, he didn't mention this, it's also with advice by counsel, legal advice. And he had said to me in the past, not that he didn't, and he's not trying to take back what he didn't want to die in prison, which is an understandable human emotion. He has turned his life around. He is very different. He is very proud of himself, as I think the board can tell. And he is going to continue. It's his desire to continue to be that person, someone he can be proud of. He did graduate with his 2-year degree. He was the valedictorian. He has applied to a bachelor degree. He did get accepted to that. So obviously we would like the board to grant him parole. But if not, he still has positive things he's going to be working towards. If the board does give him the benefit and grant parole, he'll be working towards that degree out in the community. And basically, to shorten things very much, that's all I have to comment about. And again, we believe that my client has met all of the criteria of the parole statute, and we ask that this board grant him parole.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Elias. So at this time, the panel will enter into deliberation. You can listen, of course, sir, and we'll come back to you with our decision. Ms. Berry, we'll begin with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I appreciate all the information that we received and reviewed and heard today. I do believe that Mr. Fortier or I'm saying it wrong, Obadiah. I think that he has demonstrated some evidence of offender change. I really do believe that he has prepared himself to return to the community and hopefully be a law-abiding, contributing member of our society. I know that we cannot change the nature of this crime. I also know that we cannot take away the pain that the victim's family has endured. And the fact that they were a little too emotional to even participate is telling of the trauma that they've experienced because of this crime. I honestly would like to be in support of Mr. Fortier's early release because I do feel that he has taken the proper measures to turn his life around. But I'm struggling with that and the victims. So I'm interested in hearing what you all have to say.
Okay, thank you. So I want to begin by thanking the victim and the other victim's family for coming forward and giving statements today. We certainly do appreciate their input and we do consider it in making our decision. So Public Act 23-169 has brought these cases, right, of youthful offenders to us, and we're specifically asked to consider certain criteria. One of them being whether there's a reasonable probability that the person would remain at liberty without violating the law. The next is whether the benefit to the person and society of release outweighs the benefit to continued incarceration. And the last is whether the person has demonstrated substantial rehabilitation through remorse, maturity, service to others in the facility, programming, and education. In the case of Mr. Porti, also known as Obataye, I find that all of the things that we're tasked with considering are present, right? I mean, he's done everything that he can. He did struggle early on. We see that. He spent 6 years in isolation for that. But he's taken programming. He's educated himself. He's giving back to others. He has a plan to continue to do that. He's been free of the disciplinary reports for 20 years now, which shows some maturity. I think he could be a benefit, and I hope he's sincere in his words to society. If he were to be released, I don't see the purpose of having more of these types of hearings because they would continue to come, right? We could bring them back in 3 years, 5 years, whatever, but we'll continue to re-traumatize the victims, and what more will we gain? I think he's already done or is doing what the Public Act calls him to do, and as he said, he started doing it before it even came about in 2023. We can see the change in him over the years, the maturation, the desire to do better, and I think if we denied him here today, he probably would continue on this positive path and continue to do positive things for others in the prison environment, but I don't see necessarily a benefit to continued incarceration. So my vote would be to grant parole today. Mr. Zarkov?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is a tough case, given the impact of
It is,
this
yeah.
offense. I am going to support discretionary parole in this case. It's very clear to me that Mr. Obadiah is in a very different place. He's not the same immature and violent person that he was. He has done a lot of work, well incarcerated, everything that he could, and more. He has a tremendous support system when he comes out.
Yeah.
So I'll be supporting today.
Okay. Did you want to say anything? No. Okay. All right. In the matter of Terry Porty, inmate number 214567, also known as Ode Obataye. I'll move to grant parole. Let's see, effective August 20th, 2026, with the following conditions: to have no contact with victims' family members. We have initials AM and RM. No contact with your co-defendant, Dion Henry. No contact with victim with initials LC. Is there anything further? Do you have anything further? HC. Is it HLC? I think it's LHC. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I have the H in parentheses, so I'm not sure, but we can put both in our decision. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so it's a unanimous decision. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, I just like to say thank you, and again, to every single person that I have caused harm, I am tremendously sorry and sincerely remorseful, and I'll do everything I can in my power to prevent others from experiencing what I have caused others to experience. Thank you.
We really hope that you do. Okay,
I
thank you.
will.
Thank you, Attorney Doyle, Attorney Elias.
Thank you.
Thank you to the board. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes the Public Act 23-169 hearing for Terry Porty, inmate number 214567, and it is 11:27 a.m.
Jesus Christ, I don't believe it.
My plans, I'm trying to get my CDLs and so I can start driving trucks. And then eventually I want to open up,
Morning, Mr. Turpin.
good morning.
My name is Parole Officer Logan. Today is Monday, May 18th, 2026, and this is the Public Act 1584 hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. Mr. Turpin, for the record, the state of Connecticut passed and made effective October 1st, 2015, Public Act 1584, an act concerning lengthy sentences for crimes committed by a child or youth and the sentencing of a child or youth convicted of certain felony offenses. You fall under this act, and basically this means that you were under the age of 18 and that the board shall give great weight to the diminished culpabilities of juveniles as compared to adults, hallmark features of youth, and any subsequent growth and maturity that you displayed while we are reviewing you for suitability today. The following board members are present this morning and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Zaccanini, and I want to apologize to all for the delay. We had some technical difficulties in our last hearing, and it went a little longer than planned. So thank you for your patience. Gail Member Barry.
Morning, Sarkoff.
Also in attendance this morning is the public defender. Can you please state your name, juris number, and business address?
John Cizik, 413-625, 54 West Main Street, Meriden, for Zachary Turpin.
Thank you, Attorney Cizik. Also in attendance is the state's attorney. Please state your name, juris number, and business address.
You're muted.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Jessica Gray, my juris number is 444307. Business address 400 Grand Street, Waterbury, Connecticut.
Thank you, Attorney Gray. Also present is victim advocate De Jesus. Mr. Turpin, please state your name and inmate number for the record.
My name is Zachary Turpin, inmate number 383197.
This is a public hearing in accordance with Chapter 14, Freedom of Information Act, Connecticut General Statute 1200, which applies to this procedure. Mr. Turpin, if you have any questions concerning the above, please bring your questions to the attention of the panel at this time.
No questions.
Again, this is a public hearing. Do you have any questions, and are you willing to proceed at this time? Are you willing to proceed, Ms.?
Yes.
Okay. This 1584 hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Zachary Turpin, who is serving 30 years execution suspended after serving 17 years, followed by 5 years probation for manslaughter first, intent injury, and attempt to commit robbery for a serious physical injury. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has not completed any new programs since his last hearing. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score under RT falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Turpin, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
I feel like I changed. I feel like there's nothing left for me in this place. There's nothing else for me to do here. Like, even with some of the programs, like, there's a long list to get in. And it's not guaranteed that you're gonna get in some of the programs. The majority of the programs I completed. So there's really nothing else left for me to do here.
Okay.
All I do is work. That's it.
What do you have in your hand?
A paper.
Oh, is that something you wanted to read or show us, or no?
No, it's all right.
All right. Okay, Mr. Turpin. So this is a rehear. It just so happens Ms. Berry and I were on your last panel 2 years ago. We denied you and asked you to do some things. But anyway, so in preparation for today's hearing, this panel has reviewed your entire previous file, which includes the court documents, police report, all of your DOC records, the decision information summary that the parole officer put together, the correspondence from your attorney. So we're well versed, and like I said, the two of us were on your last panel, so we're very familiar with your case. We may have some additional questions for you today. Then we'll ask the Office of Victim Services to facilitate victim input, and then your attorney and the attorney from the state attorney's office will give statements, and we'll give you our decision. You know how it works. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So I'm not gonna go over the whole case again because I did that with you 2 years ago. I'm more interested in what exactly you've been doing for the past 2 years since your last hearing.
It's been work, just working.
Okay, what kind of work are you doing?
I work in the kitchen. I do diets.
You do what?
Dietary food. So food for people with allergies, stuff like that.
So you're preparing special diets?
Yes.
Okay. What is your title?
What, for the kitchen?
Yeah.
Dietary cook.
Dietary cook. Okay. How long have you been doing that?
By almost a year and some change, couple of months.
A year and a couple of months. Okay. What'd you do prior to that for work?
I worked in the kitchen. I never switched my job.
So how long have you been working in the kitchen?
Over a year and some change. It's been a while.
And I asked you what you did for work prior to that year. Are you not understanding my question? You said you've been working in the kitchen for a year. Where did you work before that?
I didn't work nowhere else.
Oh, okay. I mean, you've been incarcerated for what, 15 years now?
Yes.
15 years, okay. So this is the first job you've held?
So you saying like jobs overall? I had plenty of jobs throughout my incarceration.
Yeah. Yeah, what were you doing before the kitchen?
I used to do garbage. I used to do garbage. I was a tierman.
Yeah.
Those were the only jobs that I had.
Okay.
Throughout my whole incarceration.
Okay. And no new programs, you said, because according to you, there's no additional programs that you could take?
There's the only programs is like CCAR and stuff like that for like drug treatment counselors and stuff like that. But I'm not gonna get into a program if I'm not gonna really take that serious and want to do something with like drug treatment in the world. Then I'm not gonna do it because then I'm just gonna be in the way of somebody else that's really trying to do.
Okay, so what are your work hours, sir, in the kitchen?
From 1:30 to 6.
Okay, so what do you do from morning, because you get up pretty early, until 1:30 and after 6 o'clock?
I get up, I use the bathroom, I read some books, I might listen to music, I'll get some self-help books that I read, stuff like that.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about your 2 new tickets, one for interfering with safety and another for fighting.
Which one are we gonna talk about?
I mean, if you have nothing to say, I have nothing to ask.
I'm saying, which ticket are we gonna talk about first?
Both. You don't seem very motivated here today, sir. It seems like you're bothered to be here. And I'm not sure why. You don't seem very prepared. Where did you think you were going today?
I'm very prepared, but you asked me a question for 2 tickets. So I asked which one you want to talk about first.
Whichever you'd like.
All right, so the interfering ticket was because they wanted me to go to the hospital, and I didn't want to go to the hospital because I felt like there was nothing wrong with me to go to the hospital for. So then once
Why did they want you to go to the hospital?
Because they, according to them, they think I had a fight with some other dude, somebody that I know. Me and the person told me they didn't have a fight. There's nothing like for them to witness that there was a fight.
Well, didn't you have some kind of physical injury?
No.
Did I read that wrong? But let me pull it up. You didn't have any, why would they want you to go to the hospital if you weren't injured anywhere at all?
Because I fell and hit my head.
You hit your head?
Yes.
Did you have a bump on your head?
No.
How did they know you fell and hit your head?
Because I fell right in front of the officer.
Oh, okay. You fell and hit your head. Well, I'll tell you what, as a chairperson of the Board of Pardons and Paroles, if someone falls and hits their head here at work, I'm going to send them to get checked out at the hospital.
Yeah, but I didn't feel like I needed to go to a hospital.
I understand it. If one of my employees says, I don't think I need to go, I'm going to say, you're going to go and get checked out because you're here in my office and I'm responsible and that's the right thing to do. Okay, so that's the interfering and resisting. You refused to go to the hospital after you fell and hit your head and they thought you were in a fight. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. What about the fighting ticket?
They thought I had a fight.
Oh, it's the same incident? Same day?
Yeah.
Was it the same? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Why did they think you had a fight?
Because I fell and hit my head on the floor.
Well,
So they
I mean,
called-
people fall and hurt themselves all the time. That's why they thought you had a fight?
Yes.
Do anybody have a ticket pulled up? No.
They checked me out. Sir, did you have a fight? No. You sure? No. They asked the other person, oh, did you 2 fight? No, we didn't have a fight. There's there's nothing to say that me and this person had a fight.
Okay. During your interview, when you were asked about your 2 new disciplinary reports, why did you say you didn't want to talk about it?
Because I was already stressed out about it. And then as time went on, I elaborated about the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. You know, one of the measures of rehabilitation is being able to talk about things. You know that? Yeah.
Yes.
What are your plans for when you're released?
My plans, I'm trying to get my CDLs and so I can start driving trucks. And then eventually I want to open up a rec center for at-risk youth.
Mm-hmm. So I think you heard in the opening statement by Officer Logan that we have victim input today. Did you want to express any type of remorse?
I mean, I apologize for my choices that I made, which caused this person to lose his life. But I can't take it back. If I could revisit the situation and handle it differently, I would. I know it was wrong. And You know, I carry this with me every day. Every single day I think about it. That I took somebody's life every single day. And how I'm gonna pay for it. Like, I know this is me paying for it now, but still, like, how will I be able to pay for, like, really taking somebody's life?
You're still very young, 31 years old. You have a whole lot of life ahead of you. Certainly hope that you choose to spend it wisely, because, you know, you can be an asset to the community given the path that you've taken. You know, you're really not presenting well here today. This is not what I expected, to be perfectly honest. I'm a little disappointed, especially given that we gave you an opportunity to come back in 2 years to do better. And I just don't see much change from then, if I'm being perfectly honest. But let's see what my colleagues have to say. Mr. Zarka.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Mr. Turpin.
Good morning.
What do you think is going to be difficult for you in the community? Because you are being released at some point soon, whatever happens today.
I can't hear you. Can you say it again, please?
What do you think is going to be difficult for you when you're released?
I don't really see like much difficulty because I got a lot of support and I got jobs and stuff like that lined up. Well, if I do run into some type of difficulty, I got people to lean on. But I don't feel like there's gonna be much like harm for me.
Okay, who do you lean on? You are going to need help.
Say it again, please.
Well, you mentioned that you're going to lean on your support family structure, I assume?
Yes.
What do you have for supports in the community?
I got my sisters, my aunts, my cousins. I got a whole lot of family that's supporting me, as well as a couple of friends.
Compared to 2 years ago, do you feel like you're better prepared today than 2 years ago?
I actually do feel like I'm better prepared today, as well as I have more support today than I did then.
So how so? Like, tell us what changed in 2 years. How are you better prepared than 2 years ago?
My mindset's definitely changed from 2 years ago, because 2 years ago, after the year 2 years ago, I didn't even really have hope for like coming back in general. And then as time went on, I had to reset my mind again to figure out what do I really want to do in my life. And I feel like the plan that I had is going to stay the same. My support system is going to still be there for me. And I just got to continue. I got to do my part. Once I do get released, prove to myself and my family.
Okay, I think that's all I have. Thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Turpin, the chair asked you about where you want to fight, well, about your tickets. You told her that you fell. How did you fall and why did you fall?
Because I was in the bathroom. I was cutting my hair in the bathroom. And then when I was walking out of the bathroom, I got my tablet, my headphones, and my trimmers in my hand. So I opened the door to the bathroom. I stepped out and fell down.
Was the floor wet?
No, it's just there's a little lip right in front of the door. So
you tripped and fell.
Correct.
So how did they figure that you were in a fight from tripping over a piece of something and you're being involved in a physical altercation with another individual? Who did they say you had a fight with?
One of my friends, Caillou. When I fell,
did they get a ticket too?
Yes, and we both fought the ticket because it's like, what? We didn't have no fight. But I had a cold weight. They called a cold weight once I fell. They called a cold weight. And then I went to medical and all that.
You weren't bleeding or anything, nothing?
No.
I can't find the disciplinary myself. So, Mr. Turpin, I was actually on your last panel, as the chair stated. I had a different last name, but I was one of the people who voted on the minority. I voted not to bring you back. I didn't think that you were a suitable candidate for early release. So it appears that you proved me right. I just don't understand. So things are just, it doesn't make sense to me in my head. I'm glad to see though that you do have some community support and you're not serving a flat sentence. So you do have some supervision to follow, but I too am disappointed in seeing you before today. So I'm all set. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, it says in the interview, he said he didn't want to go because there's only a little bump on his head. Okay. All right. So at this time, we'll ask the Office of Victim Services to facilitate input. Mr. Jesus, thank you for joining us.
Good morning, board members. I did speak with the wife of the victim, Regina McLean, and she stated the following, quote, "I want him to complete the time that he has left. He should serve it completely. I am fearful and I don't want him anywhere around me or my family," end quote.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The attorneys will be afforded the opportunity to make a statement. We will now turn it over to the state's attorney. Do you wish to proceed?
Yes, thank you. At this point, the state would not be in support of early release. As the board is aware, this was a particularly heinous, unprompted incident for which Mr. Turpin was convicted. I was not present at the last hearing. However, I've neither seen nor heard anything today that has demonstrated any indication of substantial rehabilitation on Mr. Turpin's part. Until prompted by the board, there was no indication of any remorse toward the victim in this case. It's also clear that Mr. Turpin did not abide by any of the recommendations of the board when you met 2 years ago. There's been no further programming completed. There's been additional tickets that have been accumulated. For all those reasons, we would not support an early release.
Thank you.
We will now turn it over to Attorney Sizik. Do you wish to proceed?
Yes. At his last hearing, Zachary was asked a lot of questions about his crime. He was asked a lot of questions about his PSI. And the purpose of these hearings is that when someone is 16 years old or 17 years old, they're not the person they're going to become when they're 32. The person that he was during the PSI process is not the person he is today. He was that 17-year-old kid during his crime. And in my letter, I go into this, so I won't go into it in much detail, but he doesn't even remember his interactions with police. He doesn't remember the statement he gave to police. But if one reads that statement that he gave to police, he is a completely different person today. Since I first met him maybe 5 years ago, I don't know that there's been a visit where he hasn't talked about remorse and talked about how bad he feels for the family of his victim and the children of his victim. And it is something that he deals with every day. Something else that he deals with every day that I don't think has been mentioned at all in either of these hearings is a life-threatening and life-altering disease, Crohn's disease. He never uses it as an excuse. But if you look at his movement sheet, look at how many times he has been taken to a hospital during the course of his incarcerations. Look at how many times he has had inpatient hospitalizations for Crohn's disease. In my initial letter back 2 years ago for that hearing, I detailed the symptoms, the things that he goes through on a daily basis, the way he has to treat the disease, the way that DOC has to treat the disease for him. He has to be hooked up to an IV once a month for hours at a time to get the medication that he needs. This has prevented him from being able to work. It's prevented him from being able to do some programs during his incarceration. But as I said, he never uses it as an excuse. He has tried to sign up for programs in the past 2 years. He mentions those in the decision information summary. He just hasn't been granted those programs. He's tried. It's not his fault he doesn't get into the programs. Yes, he got 2 tickets on the same day in 2024. He fought those tickets. He denied the conduct that he was accused of. Again, not not his fault that he gets accused of something and tries to fight it, and he's found in violation anyway. I can tell you that he was disappointed about the board's decision 2 years ago. It never changed the way he feels about his future. He knows he has a future. He knows he has support in the community. He's going to get out next year, and he's got a plan. He knows what he's going to do. I would ask that the board consider allowing him to transition into the community either via a halfway house or via parole before he is literally put in the street and put on probation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the panel's going to enter into deliberation at this time. You feel free to listen to our deliberation. We'll give you our decision shortly. All right, so I think I put my position out there already, but we heard him 2 years ago. I wanted to bring him back and give him another opportunity to do better. In my opinion, really hasn't shown much more by way of maturity, rehabilitation, service to others, the things that we typically look for. I mean, we see other people who can't necessarily get into programs, but they volunteer for all kinds of stuff. Or they come up with their own programs, or they educate, get involved in education or technical stuff, or mentoring, tutoring others. There's other things that you can do. To say that there's nothing else to do in prison, especially in Osborne, I find it very difficult to believe. The tickets are disappointing. If we didn't hear about certain things, it's because he didn't have a statement ready. We know what we know, and based on what I saw today, I don't find that there's a reasonable probability that he would remain at liberty without violating the law again, and I don't find any benefit to society or rehabilitation, so I can't support a granting of parole today. And I'm thankful that he does have 5 years of probation, because he'll get to a halfway house. He'll get the programming and services that he needs. He doesn't need parole. My vote is to deny. Mr. Zarkov?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I came in thinking, we could probably benefit from a heightened level of parole supervision. But, the presentation today makes it difficult, and really there's no material change that I see from 2 years ago, other than 2 new tickets. So I'm going to be a denial today.
Thank you. Ms. Berry?
His attorney made several references to things not being his fault. For example, his not getting into the programs not being his fault. It's not our fault either. We asked him to do certain things, and most of the time when we do have these types of cases where people come back, they can kind of move to the top of the list because parole's asking them to do certain things. That didn't happen in this case. And then when you have such a violent offense that involves assaulting another person and you get another fighting ticket, the panel's not just going to overlook that. It shows a continuation of behavior. That's not our fault either. I don't know who falls and gets charged with the fight. I don't know where that happened. So I was not in favor previously, and I'm still.
I have 4 reasons you can agree, disagree, modify, nature and circumstance, poor institutional adjustment, inadequate evidence of change, and impact to the victim and the victim's family.
That was fast.
Thoughts?
What? That was fast, what you said.
Nature and circumstance, poor institutional adjustment,
Yes.
inadequate evidence of change,
Yeah.
and victim impact.
Yes.
Fine?
Yes.
Fine? All right, in the matter of Zachary Turpin, inmate number 383197, I'll move to deny parole for the following reasons: the nature and circumstance of your instant offenses, your poor institutional adjustment as evidenced by disciplinary reports, inadequate evidence of offender change, and the injury and impact to the victim and the victim's family. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, Mr. Turpin, we'd encourage you to take advantage of your 5 years of probation supervision. They can certainly help you, similar to what we could do. Thank you to everyone for your participation.
Thank you.
This is 1584 Kevin Turpin, 383197. It is 12:02 p.m.
We done?
You're all set, Mr. Turpin. You'll get all your paperwork.
Huh?
You'll get all your paperwork in a couple of weeks.
Oh. I don't even need to find again. Hold on. My,
You have to put some of that out there too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Good morning, CO.
that's why I'm saying, I knew she was gonna hang up, that's why I said.
Can you mute us for a second?
I'm going regardless, next year.
Officer, you can just leave this connected until Mr. Humphrey is up there.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
I go home next year, but I don't even know if I'm gonna.
This was supposed to be at 10:30, I think, yes, in your.
Officer at Osborne, if you could just unmute the equipment, we were getting some background noise, so I just muted until Mr. Humphrey was up there.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Humphrey.
Good afternoon.
My name is Parole Officer Logan. Today is Monday, May 18th, 2026, and this is a Public Act 1584 hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. Mr. Humphrey, for the record, the state of Connecticut passed and made effective October 1st, 2015, Public Act 1584, an act concerning lengthy sentences for crimes committed by a child or youth, and the sentencing of a child that is convicted of certain felony offenses. You fall under this act, and basically this means that you are under the age of 18 and that the board shall give great weight to the developmental capabilities of juveniles as compared to adults, the hallmark features of youth, and any subsequent growth and maturity that you've displayed while we are reviewing you for suitability today. The following board members are present this afternoon, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents in preparation of this hearing.
Good afternoon, I'm Jennifer Zachnini.
Good afternoon, panel member Barry.
Good afternoon, Alex Starkov.
Also present is the board staff psychologist. Also in attendance this morning is Attorney Fetterman. Can you please state your name, juris number, and business address?
Good morning, Naomi Fetterman, juris number 430485, business address P.O. Box 96, North Granby, Connecticut 06060.
Thank you, Attorney Fetterman. Also in attendance is State Attorney Formicella. Please state your name, juris number, and business address.
Good afternoon, Jonathan Formicella, 444-343, 1061 Main Street, Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Thank you, Attorney Formicella. Also present today is victim advocate De Jesus. Mr. Humphrey, please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Joseph Jerome Humphrey, 385639.
This is a public hearing This is a public hearing in accordance with Chapter 14, Freedom of Information Act, Connecticut General Statute 1200, which applies to this procedure. Mr. Humphrey, if you have any questions concerning the above, please bring your questions to the attention of the panel at this time.
No.
Are you willing to proceed at this time?
Yes.
This 1584 hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Joseph Humphrey, who was serving 40 years, execution suspended after serving 20 years, followed by 5 years probation for manslaughter first with a firearm. He also is serving 20 years concurrent for conspiracy to commit murder and 5 years concurrent for carrying a pistol without a permit. His total effective sentence is 40 years, execution suspended after 20 years, followed by 5 years probation. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the following certifications since his last hearing. He is a certified CNA, a recovery coach. He participates in building trades, and he is starting college this summer at Nantucket Community College. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score in the RT falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Humphrey, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Thank you. Good morning. I would like to take a moment to thank the board for taking the time to make this happen, for giving me more time to become a better version of myself, and for the denial of the first hearing so that I could dig deeper within myself to find flaws that needed to be addressed. At first, it frustrated me because I thought I've shown enough growth and did what was necessary to enter back into society, but along my journey, I realized I was wrong. There were things I needed to go through and experience to make an impact in my life the way it did. One thing that was vital in my life that needed to be addressed was the feeling that I had to take responsibility for every role in my case. It gave that I was following the loyalty code when I really just felt like if it wasn't for me, no one would be in this situation. So though everyone played a part, why let them suffer? I realized that part of their journey was to take accountability, and by me taking full responsibility was holding them back from their own path of rehabilitation. It was also holding me back as well, because my effort was coming from a place of guilt, not growth. Another vital moment was crossing paths with victims. And this is a crazy story, but I believe it was Allah's plan. Before I get into exactly what I'm talking about, I would like to start from the beginning. So immediately after the last hearing, I signed up for the vet dog program, where I train service dogs for disabled vets, because Justin's dad mentioned he was a vet. So even though what I've done can't be undone, I felt I should still give back. In that program, I trained many dogs, teaching them things like retrieving items, finding empty seats, opening and closing doors, turning on and off lights, comforting vets, etc. Training service dogs became something I learned to love doing. I helped many service dogs successfully graduate to help a disabled vet. I did this for a few months, then while in the program, a 3-month CNA class was offered to me, so I spoke with my counselor who ran the vet dog program to see if I could go take the class and return because the classes was held in a different facility, and he gave me the okay. At first, I wanted to take the class to just have another certification under my belt to help with my success in society, but it became much more along the way. So arriving at McDougal, my old facility where I've caught tickets at before, I didn't know what to expect or who to expect to come across. I just knew I came here for one reason only, to get my certification and leave. I did a few weeks just in the classroom, then once we reached a certain chapter in our workbook, we had to do a clinical part where we had to get a certain amount of hours working in the infirmary hands-on with ill patients that vary from patients with paralysis to patients with dementia to cancer patients and even patients on hospice. Now, this is what Allah had in store for me. So my first day at clinical, I showed up, signed in, and when I walked in the infirmary, it was patients out, but one in particular had his head down and was playing in his ear. Once he looked up, we locked eyes, and honestly, I thought seeing one of my victim brother, Brandon's brother to be exact, meant that everything I worked hard to get will come to an end, because I know that though I am where I'm at in my life, doesn't mean everyone else is. Surprisingly, it didn't turn out that way. We talked, I took care of him, willed him to his treatments, and that experience itself changed my outlook on life, period. I didn't go back to the vet dog program. Instead, I went back and worked in a hospital for the past 18 months, where I enjoyed being in the medical field and plan on taking it further, once in society. Sadly, every day isn't an enjoyable moment in this field. Since working in the hospital infirmary, 3 hospice patients passed away, including one that was my first cellie when I transferred from Manson Youth to McDougal. It's hard watching patients go through the emotions, knowing their last days is here, but giving them that comfort on those days, getting a smile out of them, or even just sitting there being the ear they need or hand to hold, does something for me. One thing that keeps me wanting to go further in the medical field is taking care of dementia patients. I love taking time to learn them and their triggers that gets them through the bad days. For example, I have a patient that doesn't understand where he's at, and at times it frustrates him, but he loves working out, and you can tell he did a lot of that before the illness. So when he have his outbursts, I learned to bring things up about working out or even challenging him to a push-up contest, and that will turn the moment around or even his day. I have another patient who loves to sing and dance. On his bad days, I'll turn on the music and sing and dance with him. I enjoy getting patients through today and worry about tomorrow when it comes. When I came before you, my last hearing, I only completed part 1 of CCAR. I continue to take the rest of the CCAR class to become a recovery coach, in which I completed. I did the ethics class where it taught me to be ethical in a place of work. For example, recovery's information should stay between the coach and the recovery, not amongst other coaches. Then I went on to do the professionalism class where it taught me professional mannerisms. Ethical and professionalism go hand in hand. For the past 7 to 8 months, I've been in school for building trades, where I'm hands-on learning plumbing, masonry, electrical, HVAC, roofing, flooring, and sheetrocking. I recently passed the OSHA 10 test, so now I'm OSHA 10 certified and working towards getting my OSHA 30. While furthering my education in the medical field, I plan on building clientele, remodeling bathrooms. I know social media is big, so I'll post videos and pictures to do so, starting with my mother's bathroom. This summer, I should be starting my college semester for my associate's degree, and some classes I'll take will help towards my medical career. If I was to be released, I will be able to transfer my credits to any Connecticut State Community College using my Pell Grant. For the past 2 years, I've been doing a lot of self-reflection, making growth a priority, putting myself first without noticing the influence I had on others. I've helped train 13 personal care assistants that will soon become CNAs. I helped out with seminars, one in particular ran by Formerly Inc., where I was able to speak. We played a game that had real life challenges in it where you had to prioritize your life choices. I couldn't tell them it would be easy or even hard once in society because I haven't been home in almost 14 years. And when I was home, I was only 16. But what I could talk about is my trials and tribulations and patience and consistency to remain staying on the right path and putting my energy into become the best version of myself, making me the role model I am today. But the best part about it all is they see my effort and work ethic. So not only am I talking the talk, I'm also walking it. And I will bring the same blueprint into society with me. Fortunately, I have a good support system. I have many family and friends as well as programs that's willing to help me with my transition back into society if I was to get granted parole, and I'm grateful for them all. If released, my wonderful mother is willing to be my sponsor. She runs her own commercial cleaning business called KMT's Cleaning that I'll be helping with. Also, if approved parole, my CNA coordinator will give me a reference letter to help when applying for a CNA job. She will also renew my CNA license to give me a fresh 2 years with it. I want to take the time to apologize to the family of Justin. On October 30th, 2012, I made the worst decision of my life that terribly impacted many. I contributed in a crime that ultimately someone lost their life in. I'm sorry for that choice I made on that day. I'm sorry for robbing your family of someone you love, and I'm sorry for robbing the mother and the father of their child. I lived in regret for almost 14 years. During these years, when I lost friends and family, I always tried to imagine how you feel, but there's no way I can imagine the feeling of losing a child. I wish I could take the hurt and pain away. I wish I could go back and correct my decisions. The more I grow, the more hurt and regret I feel for the choice I made. And every day, I feel even more ashamed. I have younger siblings that has to grow up hearing the terrible things their brother did. I have parents that have careers and they too carry my mistakes, which make me feel like a burden. But though the regret and shame will follow me for the rest of my life, it doesn't compare to what his family has to live with. Holidays, birthdays, good times, and even bad times without him. And I'm deeply sorry for that. I wish my apologies could make everything just go away. Both mothers don't deserve to go through what I put them through. I accept responsibility for my actions, and I don't look for forgiveness, but I just want you to know I'm genuinely sorry for the trauma I moved in your life. I also want to apologize to my family for all I put them through. I want to express my appreciation to the board for these past 2 years. Thank you for actually seeing something in me that I didn't, giving me the opportunity to take the steps that was needed to be the man I am today. I now have more tools mentally and physically to help me be a productive man in society. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Humphrey, for that statement. We certainly appreciate you putting your thoughts into words. So this is a rehear. You were before us 2 years ago. Actually, myself and Ms. Berry were on your panel 2 years ago. So we thought you needed a little more time, a little more work. But again, we went back, we reviewed your entire case file, everything from the your PSI, the things in your youth through to your current time incarcerated. So we're very well versed in the offense itself, all the things that you've done, good and bad, while incarcerated. In addition to the decision information summary from our officer here and the correspondence from your attorney. We do have some additional questions. We probably won't go through the whole thing again because we did that with you 2 years ago, but when we're done with our questions, we'll ask the Office of Victim Services to facilitate victim input here today. And then your attorney and the state's attorney, Attorney Formicella, will have the opportunities to give statements. Okay, at the end of it all, we'll give you our decision just like we did the last time. Do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, we'll begin with my colleague, Mr. Zarkoff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Humphrey.
Good afternoon.
You've clearly been staying very busy in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I am not going to go back and go through all the details of your offense because that was covered at the last hearing. But I would like to go back to the last hearing and just ask you how you handled the decision from the previous board, which of course was the denial. What was your thinking process at the time?
At first, I was frustrated because I was doing programs. I was doing a lot. I feel like I was doing a lot then too, but then once I went back and I got into the dog training program, everything started hitting me. Everything, other opportunities started coming. I started getting in different situations where it made me realize it was more that needed to be done.
So you did the vet dog program for a few months before transitioning to CNA program?
Yeah.
And you've been doing that now for how long? 18 months, or is it longer?
18 months.
All right, what's your schedule like right now?
So like I said, before, when I first went to the CNA program, it was only 3 CNAs. So now I help train 13 PCAs. So now I got a little bit more time on my schedule to focus on school and stuff. But right now at work, I go to work as a CNA from 4 to 10. But during the daytime sometimes it's different days. So sometimes I'll go to school at 8, almost 8 o'clock in the morning to 11 something. And sometimes I'll go from 11, 12 something to 2:30.
And when you say school, this is the CNA program, right?
No, I'm in building trades.
Building trades, got it. So the trades in the morning, about 8 to 11 or so, then CNA program at night.
Yeah.
And the associate degree that you mentioned, this is something that you plan to start, right? This summer?
Yeah, this summer.
Talk to us about your short-term plans and long-term plans when you're released.
Well, from being in the CNA, my short-term plan is to get a job. But being in the CNA field, I learned about this app called Intelli. So they always need CNAs, and I'm licensed by the state. So all you got to do is put in your license, and you could actually click wherever. It's a lot of places that you could go. You could actually click, and they will pop up on the screen and give you an interview and send you to that wherever they need work at. But my long-term goal is I want to finish college. I don't exactly know what I want. I know I want to deal with dementia patients or hospice, but I don't know exactly the title I want in that field. As of right now, I still want to go and do more in the medical field first before I even make that decision.
What do you think is going to be difficult for you when you're released?
I feel like the most I'm worried about is time management because I want to do so much that I know it's only 24 hours in a day. I want to go to school. I want to work. Like I still have like younger siblings that I want to build a relationship with because I've been gone since they was like 4 years old. Build a relationship with my mother. So to me, it'll be time management.
Some of your family are either incarcerated or involved with the justice system, right? How are you going to navigate that when you come back?
Say it again?
Some of your family have been in the justice system, right? They're either incarcerated or under supervision.
Yes.
How are you going to handle that situations?
Well, the ones that's home, they doing well for themselves. My stepbrother, he has his own business. He got out a couple years ago. The other family members that's incarcerated, I really haven't. I've been gone, so I really don't even like really know too much or even like speak about them. But navigating around that is like I said, I put myself first. So me not coming back to this place, that's my priority.
Once you settle down in the community, do you have any plans or ideas for how you can give back to the community for the harm that you caused?
Oh yeah, well I have me and like so I'm in this dorm area. It's probably like 60 something people in it, but it's really like three of us that is like mentors of that dorm. So me and another one came up with the acronym PAIN, like positive attitudes and negativity. So I want to give back. I want to give back to the people because everybody has pain. Like everybody has something that they're going through, no matter how old you are. So I want to deal with youth, people older than me, because walking through these halls, like from the road that I'm going down now, I see like it's more dudes that's older than me that like they're watching me, so they come up to me, ask me for advice. Me being young, like at first when I started getting that, at first I'm like, you older than me, but I realized that man, knowledge don't have no age limit. But yeah, that's how I want to work with youth. No matter what it is, whether it's giving back, whether it's handing out food, whether it's taking kids to basketball games or doing stuff with them that keeps them from going in the same path that I went.
Okay, well, thank you for talking to me. I think that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Barry? Thank you.
So, Mr. Humphrey, I was on your prior panel, I had a different last name, but I remember talking with you and we spoke extensively about the offense. And you took the position, if I'm not mistaken, that you were the front passenger when you held both guns.
Yeah, that's what I did last time.
How did you do that? I mean, both of them.
That was really difficult to understand, but I know we've seen quite a few of your co-defendants in our passings because they're in situations similar to yours. And we decided to have you come back. And part of the reason why we wanted you to come back was because, one, there were so many people involved in your crime. And we did want you to do some more work, but I think the main reason was that the victim was really opposed to your being released early. And I'm not going to assume that their position has changed. But I heard you speak about your work in hospice. And I'm interested in knowing, because if I
the documents that I reviewed said that this victim, while he lay on the ground, his mother was there and one of his friends, and he told them, "I'm gonna die." Having been in hospice now and seeing people who are on their last leg or their last stage of life, can you sympathize or empathize with this family having lost their loved one?
Yes, that was going through like hospice, because I have to, and in hospice, I sit there with the patient. So it's like, it's not like these patients is like passing away and I'm not around. I'm like physically there with the patients, helping them get through this. Like, so, and that hospice is really that's one of the things that really like hit me hard with my whole case, because I can only imagine what his mother was going through.
And
Because
I mean,
even-
most of the time when people are in hospice, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but when people are on their deathbed, so to speak, they really want to live. Like they just want another day and, you know, more time with their family or whatever the case may be. So how do you navigate between that? Because, and do you see any similarities in the pain that your victims would have endured in those people that are wanting to live or wanting the doctors to do a little bit more so that they don't die? Do you understand? Like I'm trying to say to you.
I get exactly what you're saying. Yeah, I see. It's basically the same thing. Like I had no right to do what I did. I had no right to be the judge on somebody else's life. He could have been and doing better than what I'm doing, and I robbed him of that. Feel me? And I'm deeply sorry for that. And like I had like I said, I had a hospice patient that he was my first cellie from when I came from Manson Youth. And him being around me, like he was more comfortable because he know me, but any day he could have been gone. So somebody else will come like try to help him, and he will take offense into that. He will take offense, like he always say, I'm a strong Black man, I don't need no help, feel me? But I could tell that it's like he's not ready to go. And I feel me, and with my situation, it's the same exact thing. Like I had no right to be the judge on somebody else's life.
Right, to take that from another person. I mean, life is precious. And, you know, in these type of crimes, we really do take, you know, very seriously. Gun violence is so prevalent in so many different communities. And so it's really important that we release those individuals back into the community who understands the negative impact that these weapons and thinking that you can resolve your own issues by being in possession and in your case, utilizing it and taking away a life that, you know, wasn't yours to take. So I appreciate your explanation of that, Mr. Humphrey. My next thing I wanted to talk to you about was you spoke about your victim's family being in the hospital or something like that, you said. And you thought that it was going to be an adverse interaction between, you know, the two of you. So I'm interested in knowing which family member it was. How were they related? Cousin, brother, sister? I mean,
It was Brandon's brother.
Brandon's brother. Okay. I don't know who. So if you thought that things would be tense between the two of you there in the facility, how do you intend to handle that when you're back out in the community?
In that moment, like it just that just came. I couldn't even like separate myself. I didn't have no other options. Like I was there. Feel me? I tend to, because I don't know what. Like I know that
in your opening statement, you said I knew that I changed, but I can't expect that to be everybody else's journey. I heard you say that in your statement, so I understand that. But again, you're asking to go back out into the community, and I mean it's going to be inevitable that you run across someone that remembers what you did. You know, I know you're going back to the same town, so, or you aspire to go back to the same town. I'm just interested in knowing how you're going to handle those interactions.
I will hope that I'll be able to like talk or something, because I don't want to tend to, like I said, I don't want to tend to like look for forgiveness, but I hope that they feel me, accept my apology, and know that I'm really sincere. Like I said, I can't speak on like how it is, because I understand that what I did was severe.
You're not fearful of returning back to the same community though? Of fear of retaliation? You know, I know that Bridgeport still has, you know, this one east side, west side, I don't even know what it is. I know that they still are very proud of their neighborhoods, and I've read your whole story. But so I'm interested in knowing, you know, how you're going to avoid that. Don't you think that going to a different town or starting over in a different?
That's my plan. Like once I'm out there, like my mother, she lives in my mother, she lives in a part of Bridgeport that's suburban, like it's a different part of Bridgeport. So once I'm stable, my plan is to go.
All right. I mean, the good thing is that you didn't receive any further disciplinary infractions. You have completed more programs. You know, you really have put your best foot forward to try to change your life. And I'm hoping that you'll be successful. If you're not granted parole here today, you do have 5 years of probation to follow your sentence, so you will get some help. You're 30 years old now?
Yes.
You have to spend your 30th birthday in prison. Do you want to spend your 40th in prison?
No, man.
So I'm really hoping that this is it for you, Mr. Humphrey. Tell me something that would help the family feel a little more comfortable with your returning back into the community, despite what you've done.
I know that me going back into the community, it's gonna be a lot of eyes watching. And I know that I'm going to remain on that same path. So whoever's watching going to see that I'm still doing the same thing from when I was incarcerated. I'm still going on the same path and continue working on myself and being a productive man.
I hope so, Mr. Humphrey. You know, it concerns me that you want to return to the same community, and I hear that you aspire to do something different. So I'm really hoping that you can try to get back and working in your field. That is a good thing. CNAs, I mean, hospitals need the additional help. So I really do hope that you follow through with that, but not only in that capacity, perhaps volunteering at some youth programs or something to speak about, you know, having been a formerly incarcerated individual and that one choice that you made changed your entire life kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so my colleague mentioned the previous hearing, I mentioned it too, but you know, we did have obviously concerns about the tickets that you had prior to that. So I appreciate that you haven't gotten any disciplinary reports since that last one in 21. The victim input was, of course, compelling, but we also learned in the last hearing, you know, that the same day we saw one of your co-defendants and you both said you were the shooter. So that was disappointing because obviously one of you is lying, you know, we're not here to retry the case, but it was just disappointing that after all this time, I don't know if there was some kind of agreement that everybody would say they did it so that not one person would be, well, I'm not sure, but then we also learned of a habeas that you had filed where you claimed that you weren't the shooter. Is that right?
That I weren't? No, I said I was.
In the habeas, you said you were the shooter?
I said I was the shooter.
Okay.
It was not your habeas, right? It was your brother. I'm sorry, if I may clarify, it was not Mr. Humphrey's habeas petition. I think you might be referring to his brother, Rashawn's, where Mr. Humphrey testified as a witness.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, as Ms. Berry said, we've seen it multiple now. So we got different stories, but.
Because you've never done a habeas, right?
You've never filed a
And he's
habeas.
never
Okay. Got it. Then I was referring to the other one that we learned about. Okay. But I really am happy to see that you took the extra time that we gave you and you used it to continue to better yourself. You know, the type of work that you're doing where you're providing service for others is, that's what we like to see, you know, and I really do hope that you'll follow through with that when you're in the community. You have a lot to offer. You're still very young at 30 years old, so you have a lot of life to live and you have the time to really give back, you know, whether it's now or 5 years from now, but you could be a good example for a lot of troubled youth out there. Okay, so at this time, we're going to turn to the Office of Victim Services and hear the victim input. Ms. DeJesus, thank you for joining us.
Hi, good afternoon, board members. I do have a brief statement and it reads as follows. I do not want him released. I want him to complete the rest of his sentence incarcerated as he was the shooter. That is all that I have, board members.
Thank you.
The attorneys will be afforded the opportunity to make a statement. We will now turn it over to State Attorney Formicella. Do you wish to proceed?
Yes. Good afternoon, members of the Board of Pardons and Parole. My name is John Formicella. I'm Assistant State's Attorney for the Judicial District of Bridgeport at 1061 Main Street. After reviewing Attorney Fetterman's packet that she put together for her client, and reviewing both DISs, once for the previous hearing 2 years ago and the one that was most recently released this month. I've had a lot of time to reflect and review Mr. Humphrey's progress that he's had since he's been incarcerated and the growth that he's demonstrated through his period of incarceration. And Mr. Humphrey should take great credit and should feel good about himself, about the work that he's done while he's been incarcerated. Educating himself, learning valuable skills for a career after his incarceration, as well as learning empathy, learning to help those who are recovering from substance abuse. Most recently, his interactions in the vet dog program, as well as learning the skill of a CNA and potentially pursuing that as a career path after his period of incarceration. No matter what the decision of the board is today, Mr. Humphrey will be released, and he will be released as a younger man with a lot of his life ahead of him. And it's the state's hope that everything that Mr. Humphrey has done in a positive way while he's been incarcerated, he will continue to build upon whenever he is released. That being said, there are some issues that I would ask the Board of Pardons and Parole to consider when making its decision here today. And the first is the both two of the reasons why the board had denied him 2 years ago. The injury and impact to the victim and the victim's family. The victim in this case was approximately 20 years old at the time that he was shot. A young adult, very much like Mr. Humphrey, and that the victim had died in his mother's arms. There is nothing that anyone on this earth can do to take that pain away from that mother or that family based upon what happened. And Mr. Humphrey's actions not only took that life away from the victim's family, but as Mr. Humphrey stated in his opening statement and through his answers to the board, also severely damaged his own family and taking himself away from his own mother and his own family for these many years. And Mr. Humphrey is growing in understanding about how his actions that day significantly impacted not only the victim's family, but his own family. And it is good to see that he's growing in that understanding, which he really didn't have that understanding when he was initially sentenced. And again, I would also cite the nature and circumstances of the offense as an issue. Another issue that I found when reviewing Mr. Humphrey's packet and listening to Mr. Humphrey was that there's a concern about Mr. Humphrey returning to the same community in which this had occurred. And in the same community in which was harmed by Mr. Humphrey and his co-defendants' actions. I have no doubt that Mr. Humphrey has learned a lot during his incarceration, but I do question whether it's in his best interest to return to that community and be exposed to similar factors that were present when he was younger. Previously, in his DIS from 2 years ago, Mr. Humphrey was quoted as citing a neighborhood beef and prior instances of violence that led to the tragic killing of the victim. Whether or not those same neighborhoods still exist or the same animosities still occur in those neighborhoods is a concern for Mr. Humphrey returning to that community and potentially exposing himself to the same factors that led to his incarceration, including his presence in the drug trade. Now that he is a recovery coach, I hope that he continues down the path of helping others with their addictions and not feeding into the same behaviors that led to his involvement in violence. I would also state that it is a concern that Mr. Humphrey may be interacting with his former co-defendants while he is released, and returning to the same community in which this happened creates a greater likelihood of him interacting with those that he was involved with previously. It does not help that Mr. Humphrey's stepbrother was one of his co-defendants and is a family member of Mr. Humphrey. And so there's a concern about interactions with those individuals that were involved in the offense and potentially relapsing into problematic behaviors that put him in prison in the first place. I did hear that Mr. Humphrey did acknowledge that it would be temporary or starting point for him to move in with his mother in Bridgeport, and that she now lives in a different area than where these problems had occurred. But there are concerns about Mr. Humphrey returning to the community, falling into the same group of friends and family that had led him down a wrong path that led to the tragic killing of the victim. And so I'd ask the Board of Pardons and Paroles to consider that as well. I would also point out 2 tickets that Mr. Humphrey did receive. And Mr. Humphrey should be commended for not getting a ticket in the last approximately, I believe, 5 years. And Mr. Humphrey's done a great job of staying ticket-free since 2021. But there are 2 tickets that I find problematic. One was 10 years ago in September of 2016, in which Mr. Humphrey and his uncle beat up a person that was friends with the victim. Again, that was 10 years old, but I would say the subject matter of that fight is incredibly troubling. I would also say his last ticket, which was a fighting ticket in January 2021, was when he jumped into a fight in order to help a friend of his. And although I think we can all acknowledge that defending a friend can be a noble experience, exposing oneself to violence, defense of another, is also problematic behavior. I believe Mr. Humphrey did speak about that in the DIS and may have spoken about it a little bit today about learning different behaviors. But the state does find that to be troubling behavior because of the context of the underlying offense and either seeking retribution for past violence. And that an eye for an eye is not the way to go through life. And I hope that Mr. Humphrey realizes that. So at this time, based upon the nature and circumstances of the offense, as well as the impact to the victim, the state would object to Mr. Humphrey's early release at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We will now turn it over to Attorney Fetterman. Do you wish to proceed?
Yes, please. And I too want to begin by thanking the board for the opportunity to hear from Mr. Humphrey again. And quite frankly, I didn't know how Mr. Humphrey would respond after the board's previous denials. This is in many ways a very adult experience for Mr. Humphrey to go through. When he came in, he was 16 years old. So I don't think he ever had the experience of working towards something and wanting something and then not getting it. And I was quite frankly concerned that that was going to be the end of the road, that he was going to throw up his hand, say, I tried, I'm still in here, and what was the purpose? But instead, when we spoke again months later, I was astounded by his response and the efforts he took, and how immediately when he got back to Osborne, he met with his counselors and he said, what more can I do? And I think in that response, we can see his maturity and his growth and what he's done, becoming a CNA, the vet dog program, the housing trade. It's such a leap from who he was 10 years ago when he got those tickets and who he was 2 years ago. And when he said in his statement that he wanted to thank the board for seeing something in him that he didn't see in himself, he has expressed, that is sincere. That is something he has expressed to me, that he didn't even realize there was another level. And you heard him say that today, that he thought he'd done enough. But it wasn't until he started really in these service areas in DOC, being in the vet dog program, working with hospice patients and dementia patients, that unlocked a whole different part of his personality, his character, and demonstrates his compassion. And he has so many stories of patients he's worked with that he's told me. And one of the ones that I really like, it's referenced in Dr. Friedman's report, but one of his patients was a former boxer who's nonverbal. But Joseph, of all the professionals here, found a way to communicate with him by doing sparring exercises and counting, and that engages this patient, and then he does verbalize with Joseph. And to find that calling in here is so amazing. And I do want to address the state's concerns and the board's concerns, because I don't want to be dismissive of them, about Mr. Humphrey returning to Bridgeport. I would note, as Mr. Humphrey stated, his mother lives in a suburban area of Bridgeport, which she did for many years. Both his mother and his stepfather are working professionals. And as is referenced in our packet, part of the struggle for this family was keeping Mr. Humphrey out of the projects where his uncles were, where his grandmother was residing, but that's not actually where Mr. Humphrey's family lives. And I think it's not a detriment that his stepbrother is his co-defendant, because his stepbrother has come out and has done so well. And that's someone who's going to be a support person. He submitted a letter that I also submitted to this board. He has a dog training business. He works with people with disabilities. You'll note, I think it's referenced in the prior letter from Mr. Humphrey's stepfather, he was previously incarcerated as well. But instead of staying on that path, he now has his CDL, and he has led a productive life, never returning to the criminal justice system. So the role models that Mr. Humphrey has available to him are unlike someone who's just getting placed back in the projects of Bridgeport and running a very high risk of recidivism. That's not the circumstance here. And even, of course, Mr. Humphrey has similarly situated friends, many of whom have benefited from these hearings. And the ones he is in contact with are success stories, have gone in at young ages, have followed a path that Mr. Humphrey has followed, and have come out and are professionals and stable and have families and support networks. And that's who's going to be there for Mr. Humphrey. And I hope, because I have seen such a progression and a change, and I hope that came across to the board today as well. And I think it's quite poignant that both Rashawn and Mr. Humphrey, when they have left DOC, or when Mr. Humphrey obviously is still here, they've chosen paths in service. So again, Rashawn works with using his dog training to address youth in the community and show them that that there are other career paths available, and then he also works with people with disabilities. And of all areas of healthcare to be drawn to, that Mr. Humphrey is drawn to hospice patients and dementia patients speaks to his character. And we noted in the packet, his parents do operate a commercial cleaning business, but his mother is also an LPN working toward becoming an RN. So that is someone who is going to be a support person professionally and personally for him. And you heard him say the CNA coordinator here is prepared to write him a reference letter and renew his license. So he'll have 2 full years from the time he leaves here to then get his career started for himself. So I'm incredibly proud of the work he's done, and I was disappointed, of course, when parole was denied last time, but to see everything that came in those 2 years from the denial is truly outstanding. So I really appreciate the board giving Mr. Humphrey that opportunity. And if there are no further questions for myself or Mr. Humphrey, we again appreciate the opportunity to be before you again today.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, the panel will enter into deliberation and we'll come back to you with our decision shortly. Mr. Zaka?
Madam Chair. Mr. Humphrey was 16 years old when he committed a number of offenses, including homicide, where the victim lost his life. While incarcerated, he completed all kinds of programs that were available to him. He was denied, of course, discretionary parole 2 years ago, and he could have handled it many different ways. In his old way of thinking, he could have gotten a number of DRs and really he could have given up. Instead, it really seems like he handled it like an adult, and he invested more in himself. And now he has more opportunities to succeed in the community. He does have some disciplinary reports. Last one was more than 5 years ago. So there's no announced since the last hearing. He has a good plan when he comes out with support structure. I think he has a lot to contribute to the community when he's released. So my vote will be to grant discretionary parole today.
Thank you.
Ms. Berry? Thank you, Madam Chair. So I agree with what my colleague stated. I, for one, am proud of Mr. Humphrey, and I'm happy that he was able to show that he is more mature and that he is capable of making better decisions. He gave several examples of some of the things that he's faced while he's been in the prison, and he's been able to manage getting around those adversities in a positive manner that does not require any kind of physical violence. I mean, people argue, they get mad, we all do that, but it doesn't escalate to a point where someone has to die. So that's what we're trying to avoid in the future. I think that he has demonstrated a level of change that warrants his being released early. So I too would support his discretion.
Thank you. I agree with everything that's been said. I think we see the rehabilitation. I think he can go out there, be successful, and give back to the community. I want to thank the families, the victim, for providing a statement here today. Can't be easy going through all of these hearings. All right, for conditions, I have family members L, H, P, M, and J, E, and then we have the 4 co-defendants. Is there anything further? In the matter of Joseph Humphrey, MA number 385639, I'll move to grant parole. It's on or after today's date, which is May 18th, 2026, with the following conditions. No contact with the family members of your victim. The initials are LH, PM, and JE, and you'll see their names in disposition. And no contact with your co-defendants, Rashawn Robinson, Kane Minor, Khalid Brown, or Jaquan Williams. And Rashawn Robinson is without the parole officer's permission because it is a family member. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do you have any questions, Mr. Humphrey?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your participation today. Go out there and do some good, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
This concludes the 1584 hearing. Mr. Humphrey, 389639. It also concludes the 1584 and 23-169 hearings for today. It is 1:02 p.m.